very, very special episode of Friday Night Shenanigans.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a good one. You guys that are watching, if you guys don't, I'm going to use my Army shit for a second. If y'all don't have writing gear, if you don't have a pen and paper, prepared copy, you're wrong. Because we're about to have one of the best to ever do it to come on this show and educate everybody, all of us, all of you. So please have some questions ready. Be ready to go because it is going to be an absolutely fantastic, informative, great night. We were very excited. And we were just telling these guys earlier, this is the second Bassmaster Classic winner we've had on this podcast in a year. So, first of all, huge shout out to Riverboat Rob, who's made this happen.
Yeah. Who
has really done a great job of bringing these legends in to talk to us. He can't be here tonight because he's, Rob's on the grind, and I respect the hell out of it. But, see, Miles, I got the Bullet shirt on. I do have the Bullet shirt on. Just you guys wait until you see what this Bullet's going to become. I'm telling you, it's going to be something special. But anyway, Riverboat Rob did a great job bringing this guy in. That was almost a wrap. But anyway, very excited.
When are we putting the 250 on that Bullet?
You're not putting a 250 on it. We're putting a 300 on it.
Oh, fair enough.
300X Pro Max.
Ooh.
Drilled exhaust. It's going to be loud as shit. You guys are going to hear me from, Dundee when I'm coming back on a Thursday. That's the whole reason I want the 300, so I can get to Dundee at, Mach speed on Thursday nights. Not that I have to beat anybody there because nobody goes over there. But it's going to be fun.
I'd still say it's nice to be able to do.
Oh, yeah. Now, to be honest with you, I have been emailing some... So, for those of you who care, first of all, I need to apologize and say I'm sorry I haven't been on the show a whole lot recently. My Army career has gotten insane. I've been trying to kill ducks every weekend. That's really a big part of it, too. So, I have been a little bit absent. That's on me. My bad. I'm going to try to get better. But
Paul's trying to sell his boat. I don't like fishing in the winter.
I don't like fishing in the winter.
I love fishing in the wintertime.
I don't.
Did win a little tournament last weekend.
I like
that was awesome.
Yeah, you did. That was awesome. That was sweet.
Decided to jump in last minute. Thank you, Miles. I got to give a shout out to Miles for letting me know that was going on because me and Chad were sitting here, BSing, and Miles was like, "Hey, you fishing?" I said I was going fishing tomorrow, and he's like, "You fishing Nate's thing?" I was like, "Well, let me text Nate."
Maybe.
So my buddy was already asleep. He picks me up in the morning. I'm like, "Hey, you want to fish tournament today?" And he was like, "I don't care." I was like, "Well, if we don't get in the tournament, we're going to catch 20 pounds." Because that's how it always works. Murphy's Law. So we jumped in, and it was a really tough day. Five boats showed up. Water's chocolate milk. 7 fish got brought to the scales, and we had 5 of them.
Dang.
It was a really, really tough winter bite. We figured a little something out, and we were able to capitalize on 2 very specific spots, and called a limit, called once. Didn't have much weight, but it was enough. That's all that matters, right?
We'll talk about those spots after the show. Paul didn't even smile. He's like, "I don't think so."
That would be a negative Ghost Rider.
I'm going to apologize in advance if I'm checking my phone today because
He's
I
got
have drill this weekend and my
on.
phone goes off all day, all night, especially because we have drill this weekend. So I apologize. I'm going to try to ignore it as best I can, but I have obligations and responsibilities. So.
Hey, there's the man right there. Thanks for joining in, Rob. We wish you could be here tonight with us, brother. We appreciate you putting in all the effort on the side, even with everything that you have going on in your life. So much love to you.
Oh, you know what else we haven't done in a while?
What's up, Mr. Jason? I'll be seeing Jason in a few days down on Lake Anna.
What's everybody?
Jason, what's up, Brian?
What's everyone drinking tonight?
What's up, Dan?
We haven't done that in a minute. What's everybody drinking tonight? That's one of the OG. We used to start the show out like that.
So I am still on my Michelob Ultra kick.
0 calories.
Because, still drinking Blue Moons.
Not 0, but
I thought it was.
It's like 3.
That's pretty much 0. It's almost yeah.
And you found one of your favorites.
I found a rarity. This is the Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull American Lager.
So he's got them all the time.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. So I went in there to look for my normal cheap crap beer, Natural Light or some nonsense.
That the guy right here.
What's that?
That right up here.
Yeah. Right up here off 152, and I walked in, and it was like, oh my God, there's Stone Cold Steve Austin's American Lager, and I heard the glass break in my head, and I was like, now I have to have it. So, that whole thing happened, but it's actually a pretty decent beer. If you guys haven't had it, pick up some, give it a try. It's pretty cool. If you're a WWE fan, if you like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Tony's not a WWE fan at all.
I used to be a huge WWE fan, but not anymore.
I had the old bull, but now I want the young calf. And it grabbed me by the chatterbait.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, I'm totally going.
Oh, you guys lost?
Yeah.
You missed it?
I missed the whole thing.
It's a Step Brothers quote.
Well, I got that, but then the chatterbait thing, was that related to Stone Cold Steve Austin?
No, I
It was
I
just
had
like
to say
chatterbaits.
it. It was on my mind, and there was no way I wasn't not saying it.
Sure.
I should have said chatterbait, though. Not crankbait. Should have said crankbait.
So
my while we have a second, I want to ask Miles how his glide bait trip to Loch Raven went last week.
what was he beating the bank?
Just beating the
Yeah,
banks.
he said he wasn't going to. He said he wasn't going to fish the tournament. He was going to go throw some glide baits.
That's cool.
Hey, Trent.
While we're waiting,
thanks for joining, brother.
Yeah, Trent, is that a new face for the show? I haven't recognized that name, but I've been kind of out of the loop here a little
Trent,
bit.
I think Trent's caught the show a couple times. I don't know if he's ever really commented before, but Trent's a good family friend of ours.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome. We're
sweet.
glad to have you. Miles said it's a failure. Miles, are you talking about your life or the fishing? Damn.
Oh, take it easy. Take it easy.
Sorry.
I mean, he's got a sugar mama, so
He does, and he does, and we're all jealous of him. Let's be honest, we're all jealous. It happens. He's gonna show up one day with like a brand new icon. We're just be like, okay, I got you.
guess the real estate business is going well.
Right.
Is it worth going to the icon? or the
Oh,
Bass
wait
Cat,
a second.
Oh, we have Clint Clayton.
You guys
joining the show.
realize this is a
Oh,
legendary
my
moment in
goodness
Bass
gracious.
Beer Radio because Clint has joined us. You guys don't understand how long we've. Okay, remember when we were at Lake Anna?
I've
We
been
couldn't
waiting
even
for
get
this
Clint to
moment
come
for
on.
2 years now.
Clint, we love you.
This is almost as good as actually having David Fritts and Denny Brower on the show as having Clint, the mayor of Kingsville.
I mean, just as rare.
It is just as rare.
It is just as rare. Actually, it's probably more rare.
It probably
Oh,
is.
that sucks, Miles. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, Miles and his significant other both have COVID.
Miles got the vid.
It's unfortunate.
If I could, I would freaking. Actually, I am. I'm pinning that comment. Clint's hello is
Special
pinned now.
guest.
It is. It's pretty important. So anyway, in the next probably 5 to 10 minutes, one of the best to ever do it's going to join us, and like we were actually so excited for it. So
I'm gonna text her up here and.
we told him what time to join in the email, right?
I asked him to join in around 8:15.
Okay, perfect. So, and we'll get into the resume a little bit more, but given that he's going to join it here momentarily, I'm going to go ahead and read off the resume for this man. And keep in mind, the resume that I'm reading, this is just Bassmaster. Okay, this isn't including FLW.
Classic. Let's see if I can name this off the top of my head because David Fritts is kind of one of my heroes.
Okay.
Classic win.
Yes.
$1 million with Bass.
Yes. Over a little bit more actually.
Yeah, over $1 million. Over $1 million with Bass.
I think it was 1.3.
Multiple tournament wins.
Oh yeah.
With Bass.
Yes.
What? How many?
5.
I was gonna say. I think it was 5 or 6. And in crazy amount of. I think he's got a crazy amount of top 10s.
So here's the coolest part about this, right? So when I put this together and or the stats for David, and it's insane. 227 career tournaments in B.A.S.S. Out of the 227, 114 in the money. It's over half.
That's half.
That's
like right at half.
insane. That's so much, dude. Because I believe that's top 30, right? 30's
Top
in the
50.
month? So top 50. Okay, so top 50 out of a 200 and some boat field.
100.
Okay, so
Well, it depends on. I mean, a lot of that depends. So,
because we're going
they
back
had
for years.
if you go back, like the invitationals, I think were 150 boats. Mm-hmm. I think they have like a top 150. So some of them had more tournaments. He's fished some opens. Your opens are going to be 225 boats. So yeah, I mean that's impressive.
Oh, that's significant.
That's definitely up there in your. If you can cash in half your tournaments, you're doing pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Do us a favor, y'all. If you like this podcast and you're stoked to hear from David Fritts tonight, please hit that like and that share button. Does us a big favor.
So I think one of the coolest things here is we all kind of get on these hot streaks a little bit. Like I did it earlier in the spring. I know you've done it in River Rats. I know Chad, we've all
Fritts
done it.
Blitz.
The Fritz Blitz, right?
Yeah.
So this is a pretty remarkable 5-year span. So wins the Bassmaster Classic in 1993. Gets Angler of the Year for Bassmaster in 1994. And then wins the Forrest Wood Cup in 1997. And I don't know exactly what year, but within that time span of that 5 years was 7 ounces short of a Bassmaster Classic win. All of this within 5 years. That is ridiculous. Like that's a huge thing. I mean, the only thing you can do to top that is what very few have done. Only 2, I believe, right? With Hank Cherry and KVD to win back-to-back classics.
To win back-to-back, yeah.
Like, that's the only way you can top that.
Jordan Lee.
You're right. So the only 3 in history have ever done that.
Yeah.
Outside of winning them back-to-back, this is about as hot as you can get in a 5-year span. You know what I mean? And, to do it in multiple circuits in multiple different arenas, that's incredible.
Want to know another fun David Fritts fact?
Sure.
Still runs a flasher on his boat.
That's awesome. I actually still do that, but I guarantee it's not for the same reason. The reason I run my flasher is because my Humminbird doesn't get depth when I'm running. So I use the flasher when I'm running to see how screwed I am going across the flats. So, but
I don't look at my fish finder when I'm running across the flats.
Do or don't.
I just air it out. And
I
just air it out and drive.
So one of the other cool things on here, the fun fact is total weight over X amount of years, a long time, is 5,598 pounds and 7
Debbie,
ounces
thanks for joining
of
tonight.
bass. That is super freaking cool, man.
How much?
5,598 pounds and 7 ounces of bass.
Oh,
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
5,000?
How many tournaments did he fish?
200. That's just in out of the 227 bass tournaments. Doesn't
So-
include all the tournaments
From
for
FLW
FLW that you had to qualify for to lead up to the Forrest Wood Cup.
Yeah, that's there.
So you can probably damn near double it in tournaments. I mean, and that doesn't include fruit
David-
jar local tournaments.
He had a very successful FLW career as well.
Right.
So I mean very successful.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
He's been around for a long time. It's a really cool story for how he got started, or when he got started. So, when he joins, we'll have him talk about that. But he's what we're gonna kind of focus tonight on is crankbait fishing, and
Surprise.
We have David Fritts on. We have to, right? So David is probably the best crankbait fisherman ever.
Right.
We all know KVD's famous for fishing a crankbait.
Jerkbait.
David is, he is the originator.
The OG.
So
yeah, 100%.
I mean, he was offshore cranking. He was probably one of the first people that was offshore cranking. If not the first. That was part of that Fritz Blitz in the mid-90s, was him offshore cranking before anybody was doing it. Mm-hmm. Back then, everybody's still beating the bank, and he's out in the middle of the lake cranking.
No idea.
Send me the link real quick. I'll try it.
Hey, here we go.
There he is.
There we go.
We got him.
Finally
There
got it
he
figured
is.
out.
Hey, Mr. Dave, how you doing tonight?
I'm good.
Very good. We're beyond stoked to have you here on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, go ahead, Paul.
Oh yeah, let's start with the big thing that that everybody's seen about you're retiring from Bassmaster. I know you're not retiring, so tell us a little bit about that, and what made you make that decision. I'm sorry. Before you get into that, let me introduce myself. My name's Paul. This is Chad. This is Tony.
Tony.
Sorry, we're a little bit nervous because you're kind of a hero of ours.
Those two are. I'm good under. I promise. I'm the one that's good under pressure. These two, I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Give them all a hard time.
I'm nervous.
So, sorry for not introducing us, but yeah, we just we'd like to know a little bit about you. I've been following you for a really long time, pretty much since I started bass fishing, and just wanted to see. I'm very interested in where you're going after this, but what made you make that decision to leave Bassmaster after such a long time?
Oh, well, I don't know. I just thought if I would get away from having these 2 and 3 weeks in a row and having tournaments a little more spaced out would be a little bit easier on me because it gets to be a struggle. I mean, believe it or not, when you get 67 years old, you ain't got the energy you had when you was 50 years old, even. Uh, so I thought maybe I'd be a little more refreshed and have a little bit more get up and go, uh, and have a little more ego, spacing out a little bit instead of trying to get through 2 tournaments in a row and then a week off and going through 2 more. So it gets to be pretty strenuous, believe it or not. It used to never bother me, but it's tougher now. So I thought if I got a little bit more spaced out, that I would enjoy it a little bit more, and I would have a little more fire around me
Okay.
instead of these northern swings in Bassmaster just kill you when they're nothing but sonar tournaments and they're catching them in open water, and it's
It's physically
it's just
demanding. It's mentally demanding.
Especially when that wind's
it,
blowing
it
up
is
there.
it is. So,
Yeah,
but
when
anyway,
that.
that's where I am now, and I thought one of my best friends that used to fish with me in all the FLW tournaments, he used to practice with me, and he's fishing at NPFL, and I thought, well, you know what, it sounds like something I want to try. And so instead of quitting totally, I thought, you know what, I'm going to just drop back and try this for a year or two and see what happens, and see if I can handle it pretty good. And I think I can.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a lot easier for me.
yeah, and they're pretty spaced out. They have what, like one tournament a month, give or take.
Yeah, actually, we've got one the very first week of February, and then I think the next one's not till May. And then we have one about every month and a half to 2 months. They're really spaced out really good.
Oh,
So we got, and plus we get my fall fishing back in, which I was always, my most dominating tournaments were in the fall, and Bassmaster, we have no fall tournaments.
I was going to ask
So,
you about that.
That's one of the best times to
we
throw a
don't.
crankbait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I heard you say that on another podcast. I think can't remember which one. Maybe Luke Duncan. But heard you say that you really like fishing. What is it that you like fishing about the fall, other than you've had a lot of success doing it? Is it just does it just line up better for how you like to fish?
Well, fall tournaments are, generally speaking, they're a little tougher. A lot of times fish get on the bottom and you can't see them as well with forward facing. So it gives us guys that are so used to finding them with your baits all the time, it gives us a little better chance. So, uh, get back to some of the old time fishing where you find them with your baits, and you find them and you can figure out what kind of structure they're on. And I was just always real dominant in the fall, and over all the years that I fished, even back in the top 100 days, uh, I'd always catch enough in the fall to get me through those 2 sight fishing tournaments they had every year. So maybe it'll work this time too.
Well,
It's funny you talk about sight fishing. So we're all from the Upper Chesapeake Bay. We fish. I don't know. I'm sure you fished it at some point, but
The Potomac and the Upper
Potomac
Bay,
and the
yeah.
Upper Bay. Like up here, there's no sight fishing.
not much.
Well, there is, but it's in July and August. So I guess, do you have any experience, any memorable moments from fishing any of the Potomac or the Chesapeake Bay throughout your illustrious career, sir?
Well, Potomac was one of my favorite fishing spots.
Oh,
I never won. I finished second up there like 5 or 6 times, and
Wow.
I'd always lose a fish or something would happen that I just never could win for some reason. But Potomac River was really good for me. It was really good crankbait fishing, which a lot of times when we went up there, it was in the fall. So fish had sort of come off the grass and got on hard cover, and that made it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences at the Potomac. It's always something. Something always happens. I fish the Potomac a lot, and
Yeah.
something always happens. Either the winds blow it, blows your spot out. I had a tournament
Always.
a couple years ago where I had it was a sight. I had them sight fishing. It was a spawn tournament, and I pulled into an area and I had 15 fish between 3 and 5 pounds on beds. And I was like, oh, it's going down. And then the wind, day of the tournament, the wind decided to blow 20 miles an hour out of the north. So that kind of ruined that.
Yeah, well, that always happens. It never fails. There's always something.
It's always something, especially on the Potomac.
Yep.
So we kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about we know you've been designing crankbaits forever.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that we wanted to know, about, well, before we get into designing crankbaits, we were talking about fishing crankbaits. Something that me and Chad had talked about yesterday, and we wanted to ask you was, what is it that makes an excellent crankbait fisherman versus the average crankbait fisherman?
A crankbait is, you'll never find me without a crankbait title, and I love throwing crankbaits, but I definitely am interested in what separates the men from the boys in a crankbait fisherman.
Well, the most important thing about crankbait fishing is learning the feel of it, and that's when you can dictate that really small, subtle bite or push or whatever. That's really what separates you. People, when they're winding a crankbait and one starts pulling their drag, they know they got one. Or a lot of times they'll knock a lot of slack in your line. You got a bite, but there's a lot of bites that most people would never feel, and it just boils down to learning the feel of it. And it's like anything else. The best way to explain it, you can't tell people how to feel. That's the deal. I've tried for years, and you just can't tell people how to feel. But it's sort of like you pitch a jig in by a log or something you pick up on, and there's a fish on it. Now, how do you know there's a fish on it? It's just that sense.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how it is with crankbaits. You just have that sixth sense or whatever you want to call it.
Putting the time in and gaining the experience to feel those different feelings.
Yeah, it's all about experience. I mean, this is something that just takes years of doing to master. And when I started off fishing back in the 70s, that's all I threw. I just threw a crankbait every time I went fishing. Never threw anything else. Well, after about 10 years, you start learning stuff about it.
For sure.
I'd say so.
So,
Yeah.
just to go along with that, you were up at Susquehanna Fishing Tackle a couple years ago and did a seminar, and you were talking about throwing a crankbait on braid.
Yeah.
Is that something that you do for the feel?
Yeah, it helps your feel tremendously. But the problem is finding a braid that you can cast with. And unfortunately, most braid, everybody wants to throw a real small diameter, and it keeps up in your reel, and you can't get any distance with it. So you got to find what's good for you. The braid that I've been using, they actually no longer make. And when I'm out, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I guess go back to my old low stretch mono. But it really can enhance the way it can enhance the bait for any fisherman just because you can feel it so much better.
How does that affect the depth of your crankbait?
Yes. Same thing with monofilament.
It doesn't?
If you're using the same diameter, no matter whether it's braid or whatever it is, it's the same. I don't use fluoro. Fluoro's got too much stretch, but as far as mono and braid, or I don't know what else would be comparable. As long as they're the same diameter, you're going to get the same depth, the same action with your crankbait.
Okay.
It's great that you say that, because as one of the best to ever fish a crankbait, I promise you just blew the minds of most of our viewers when you said you don't
You
throw
just twisted my
fluorocarbon.
brain that you don't. Everything I ever throw a crankbait on has always been fluorocarbon.
You don't throw
Right.
fluorocarbon and you
Always
throw it
been
on braid.
fluorocarbon.
Right. Everybody,
like,
right. All
what?
of our viewers are just like frantically writing things down. Like, what does he mean?
I'm literally staring over at my rod right now. I'm like, that is coming off of their next season.
That's something I'll have to give it. I'll have to give that a try. I crank with fluoro. I've always pretty much always cranked with fluoro. A little bit of mono. I found that I can feel a lot better. You were talking about feeler. I can feel a lot better with fluoro. But I do like it over mono. What?
Yeah. So it's funny you say that, because I've tried the braid thing with the with lipless crankbaits, ripping them through the grass, and like you're absolutely right. The sensitivity it's unmatched. I mean, I can take a cheap $100 rod with braid and feel so much more than a $300 rod with fluorocarbon. So I totally understand where you're coming from. But I gotta say, I've never thrown a crankbait on a spinning rod on braid, unless it was on a spinning rod that had backing.
I think most people are looking at the braid as changing where the water column of where your crankbait could run, and or the visibility of the line.
That's the big one.
Probably the big one.
I think a lot of people really worry about that visibility.
I'm one of them people, especially where we fish around here. We talked about fishing the Potomac and everything. Right? We have stained water.
Yeah,
I think the fluoro and stuff like that comes much more into key, and maybe Dave will agree with me. I hope so. That when you get into those clear water applications.
Well, if you're fishing something on the bottom and you're barely working it, yeah, fluoro can make a difference, but not when you're winding something. When you're winding something, they're not concentrating on what's pulling your bait. They're concentrating on that bait, and I mean, there's zero difference. I mean, it should. I remember Guido Hibden back in the Potomac days, even throwing that yellow line. I'm thinking, man alive, why is he throwing that bright yellow line? But let me tell you, it makes no difference. It makes zero difference. So the most important thing is being able to fill your bait and to make long casts, and that's something that's sort of a challenge with braid, is finding a line that you can make long casts with. So if you can get that going together, then you've hit a home run, because you can feel so much better. And there's certain monofilament lines that you can feel a lot better with too. And I used to tell guys, just go to, when you go in Susquehanna Sports or wherever you're going, wrap the line in between your hand and just sort of see how much stretch it is. And you're going to be amazed at different lines, how much different stretch. Now, the line you're talking about, the fluoro, it's about 40-50%. I mean, it really stretches. That's why I never use fluoro to crankbait.
Maybe I'll have to switch back to mono.
So when you're talking about braid, do you don't use a fluorocarbon leader? Your crankbait is on braid 100%. There's no leader. There's no nothing. It's just braid.
Yep, directly to the bait.
That's incredible. And what pound test do you prefer, like 25 or 30 or something like that?
Yeah,
well,
12, 15.
You almost have to have 10-pound diameter to keep it from jamming up. So actually the line that I have been using, the Berkeley line, that actually the X5 is not bad.
Okay.
But the line that cast all of them, they don't even make anymore. And that was a Tough Line Super Cast. It was a braided line with a mono coating, and it would outthrow mono, and it had a mono coating on it. And it was just like fishing with monofilament, except you had zero stretch. Now, on the other hand, if you got down to 8-pound testing that, a lot of times it would stick down at, how braid likes to do, stick in your spool and jam up a little bit. But as long as you stay with 10, you was really good with that.
It makes sense. It's funny you mentioned that that they can't they're not worried about that line. I was messing around earlier this year, just with flipping with braid, and one of the rivers here, in the Gunpowder River, if you've ever fished down that end of the bay, the water was running really clear this spring. I mean, like crystal clear, and I just kept flipping with braid. I never caught any less fish. So, you know,
Yeah,
like you
won't.
said,
I
it
mean,
makes sense.
a lot of people fish braid with jigs and pitching and flipping because you're dropping it on their head, and a lot of people, too many people think that just because you can see the line, it makes a difference fishing. Now, yes, if you're on Smith Lake in Alabama or you're up on the Great Lakes, somewhere where that water is really clear and you're fishing something really slow on the bottom, I can see it making a difference. But when you're retrieving something or you're pitching something, trying to hit a fish in the head, it don't make any difference.
Trying to
Yeah.
get that reaction bite.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Do you have, obviously, you're using braid, which has no stretch and everything in it. Is there a specific rod that you like to use for your crankbaits? Do you like a moderate action rod? What length do you like to use to get the distance in the cast that you want to achieve for your crankbaits?
Well, depending on where I'm fishing, if I'm fishing Potomac River and I river fished a lot, it still make my crankbait rod. It used to be 100% glass. Now it's like 94% glass because baits have got heavier, and we had to stiffen it up just a little bit. But that thing really, it just gets the fish in the boat, and that's the big key. And plus, you're so accurate, and it throws so easy. I really like the medium heavies, probably better. I use a 6/8. If like Potomac River up in the rivers where you guys are, you could use a 7, especially if you need to make a little bit longer cast. Because believe it or not, every inch of the rod really makes a difference in how far you cast. But also, every inch shorter makes you more accurate. So I know on Potomac you're throwing close to the bank, you're throwing on weed lines, and you need to make precise casts. So, I would recommend a 6/8, 7 foot David Fritts special. Them things will break you up to, I think they're $79.
Yep.
And they sell so many of those rods, it's not even funny. And it's a great chatterbait, spinnerbait. Anytime you need, you can do without your trailer hooks, but it just lets the fish get the bait a lot better. In open water, if you're throwing big crankbaits, obviously a 7/6. A 7/6 will throw about 8 yards further than a 7-footer will. We actually have some of those in a 7/11, but it takes a tall guy to throw a 7/11 or a 9-foot. We make it a 9-foot.
Wow.
Takes a big guy to throw that. So
That's
if
a
you want to
long
be
run.
happy all day and not wore out, somewhere between a 6/8 and 7/6 is going to work.
Okay. All right.
I have, well, my first question, you said your first tournament was in February. I didn't mean to get off track here. Where is that first tournament?
It's on Logan Martin.
Logan Martin? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a little personal tidbit of information that I'm looking for. I got a tournament on Rayburn in March, at the end of March. Mm-hmm. What do you know about Rayburn? Can you point me in the right direction?
It's a good question.
Well, let's hope. You need to hope that it stays cool, where they don't get up and get around the beds. And every tournament on Rayburn, February, March, January, February, March, I guarantee you 95% of the tournaments are won on Fritts side. And it's just, that bait, we got 3 versions of it. We got a big one that runs 6 foot deep. The regular number 5 runs about 5 foot, 4.5. But it's all about the action, and fish want to feed up. So, the day that I'm throwing the shad wrap and some of those baits are sort of, I don't know, they've sort of disappeared a little bit. That bait is so dominant. And everybody down around Rayburn was trying. They all got mad at me because we brought that bait out. And I think I can't remember who right offhand, but every tournament was being won on it down there. But nobody was talking about it. They was trying to keep it a secret.
I remember,
and especially in that red color. So, if you ain't got a red 5, you can find a fish to win with it. And
didn't John Cox win a tournament down there on Fritz side?
yeah, he's the one that really exposed it.
First time he threw it. He said it was the first time he threw a crankbait.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
That
it's a no-brainer. That thing is a no-brainer. They've sold millions of them.
I love the Fritz side. Up here, it works really well on the
Yeah.
bay. I've
Yeah, I
had a
got
lot
some
of success
friends
with it.
there, and they talk, they speak highly of it.
Mr.
I got a certain little area that I fish that Kentucky blue color is amazing in the fall.
Yeah, it is. The Kentucky Blue is our third best-selling color.
We have a comment from one of our viewers, Mr. Tom Over, who's a local stud around here, who is asking, what is the hype on the red crankbaits and the red baits in general around the wintertime? What about that red color do you think turns more fish on in those wintertime months or in the colder water temperatures?
Well, usually in the colder temperatures, all fish.
Oh, we froze.
Things.
Oh, we froze for just a second there, sir.
They're different color browns and different color reds, and that's really where that comes from. Red, everybody used to think was just a Texas color, but now they catch them in the United States and every state on red.
They throw a lot of red up here.
That includes North Carolina. North Carolina, we never threw red, and now if you ain't throwing red, you ain't gonna win. So,
Don't sleep on the pink either.
I throw red a lot up here in the spring.
Love to throw red
and
and
a lot of
burnt
times
orange.
just a shade, you can change that a little bit. Back in the rattle trap days in Texas, I think rattle trap had like 20 different colors, 20 different shades of red, and they sold them all. But there was still one or two that was really good. And for me, the Ghost Morning Dawn is a color that I guess that's our number 2 color. But now we have a red in that the Ghost Red, which is almost a clear bait, but it's really got a red tint to it. And it's got a little bitty click in it. We call it the clicking model. And that thing it is so dominant that especially South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, the whole South, Southeast, and even in tidal water. I mean, that thing is so dominant, it's not even funny. And that particular color, sort of hits it on the head. And we've got a few different colors of the reds, but I guess that's...
You find the different variations of red to make a huge difference?
It can at different times of the year and different water temperatures because, the crawdads, they keep changing. I mean, they stay red and they'll keep a certain amount of red on them. But as time goes on, then the blues come in and the greens come in. And a lot of it depends on what area of the country you're in. But the main thing is what time of year it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's really interesting. I mean, like I said, I throw a lot of reds up here, specifically in the springtime. It works really well, especially on the Potomac. Red on the Potomac in the springtime is a killer.
We was at Portugal, and I fished on a USA team there for USA Bass, and sort of a gold medal deal, and it's all better than an Olympic sport right now. And we fished against this year in Portugal. I think we had either 14 or 16 different countries, and we were up there in the fall, which it just had been hot and it was just starting to cool off, and they were on that red so good right there, it's unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you catch them every cast when you found them, and they would eat it. And that was on the number 5 in that Ghost Red. But we end up catching the biggest stringer for the USA team, and a lot of those fish come with that. So even though a lot of fish were still real deep there, but you just never know until you just can't. Spring and fall, you got to have one close by. You got to have it when you tie it on, or you got to have it on one rod to throw.
Oh yeah.
So
it's weird. It's not only a spring bait; it's a really good fall and winter bait too.
So that's a good segue into another thing that we wanted to ask you, and We have one of our sponsors, UMA Crankbaits.
Tyler
Local,
Hawthorne,
local guy from Maryland, handmade balsa crankbaits. They're phenomenal crankbaits. I love them. And I've talked with him a little bit about designing crankbaits. So from you, who've designed some of the best crankbaits ever made, some of my favorites with the Fritts side and the DTs. What goes into designing a crankbait? How do you how do you go about that process?
you were standing on the boat one day and you casted a crank, and then you looked down at the crank and you said, "I can make this better." What made that click to you?
Well, it comes back to the same thing that I did with Rapala when we made all the DTs, the same thing with Pose, the same thing with Berkeley. It's just, there's a feel that a crankbait has to have to know it's real good. And with wooden baits, unfortunately, you can make them all the same, but every one of them's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what made the Fritz side so dominant is we use plastic. It fishes and acts just like wood, but it's got the consistency of plastic. So every one you buy is good. I mean, every single one, you never have a bad one.
Yep.
And I remember back in the Bagley days when I was with Bagley for a few years and made the dredger for them and a few other baits. And, you had to have a sack full to have one good one. The Pose were the same way. You had to have a lot of them. And actually the Rapalas, the DT6 was a little more consistent when I got it finished, but the 10s and the 14s and the 16s and the 20s, it was like out of 10, you always had 2 of them that were just special. I mean, when you tied them on, you caught them with it.
It's funny that you
That's
say
funny
that.
that you
It's
say that.
absolutely true. It's 100% true.
And anybody messing with wood, that's what you're going to deal with, because there's no way to make wood consistent. But when you get a really good one, you've got a really good bait.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thing is knowing when you have a good one, and a lot of people don't know that. But
It's funny. Funny you mentioned the DT10. I throw a DT10 a lot for smallmouth around here, and
yeah,
I have one DT10 that has caught probably 10 times as many fish as any other one in my box. It's like that one. There's something special about that one DT10.
yeah, I know all about that. I got a Post 300 that I've had since probably the late 80s. And it's a 300 Pose, if anybody remembers what that is.
Yep.
I never tied on. I never fished with it unless it comes to the last day and I got a chance to win. I'll tie it on. But it's just one of those baits. I think I won 4 FLW tournaments with that bait.
Wow.
That bait
And
specifically.
It's just one of those
crazy.
baits that you don't want to take a chance on losing it. I've never been in swimming after one, but I might would go after that one.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that
I know what it
DT10.
is, I know, and actually, I modified it a little bit more, and actually, the late Ed Chambers helped me figure out a little thing to put in that bait, and man alive, but it's sort of a one of a kind bait. There's not any more like that.
For sure. Ed Chambers, he could make a good balsa bait.
Yeah. Well, he had some good teachers. I mean, we hung out over there all the time, and he actually drove to make. He was happier making crankbaits than he was plastic. He made the best plastics in the world, but crankbaits always intrigued him because everyone was different. Every single one was different. So that's sort of what got Ed going and why he was so interested in that. And that's the thing, that's why I said when I made the Fritz side and I saw how consistent it was, I said, you know what, this is probably the best crankbait that has come out since I have known crankbaits. And I've been around a lot of good crankbaits and made a lot of good crankbaits and fished a lot of good crankbaits. But to be consistent, to go to the store, buy one, tie it on, throw it out there, and you catch one first cast. I mean, that's just when we move the weight to the bottom of it, and that's a big key of it, and thicken the sides and made it act like wood, but with the consistency of plastic. I mean, there's nothing, and still today, everybody is chasing it, but they can't figure it out, and I'm not going to tell them how to figure it out.
Right.
But
As you should.
there's just a little twist about that bait that nobody can figure out. I mean, they can copy it exactly and still not have the combination. So, and believe me, they've tried.
I do. That is the one thing that I love about the Fritts side. I got a whole box full on the boat all the time.
It's OG.
They, like you said, if I run out of a color, I can go to the store and grab one, and I have all the confidence in the world to just throw it right out of the package.
Yeah, it will, and it'll catch them. I mean, I don't know. Out of all the ones that I've had, I don't think I've ever had one that wouldn't perform like the best one you had. Out of all, and I've had a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're so consistent, and that's what I love about them. I throw them a lot.
Yeah. And see, nobody can do that. I mean, if you ever get a balsa bait that is really, really good, I mean, that's the best bait in the world. But the problem is, that's the only one. You can't go buy another one and be like that. So, and I learned that back in the early days of Pose and Bagley. It's just they were so much different. And we always would buy the one with the smaller tails. There was always something that give us a little bit of an edge, but still, even going through 100 baits in the store and buying 5 of them that had small tails, then you had to work till you got 10 or 12 of them to get 2 good ones. So, but anyway, that used to be a part of a little key, but that's when baits were really inconsistent.
So, has balsa improved with like CNC technology and being able to, cut the blanks more exact? Have you seen an improvement in balsa since, in more recent times, or is it still that inconsistency? I would assume that, that just differences in the wood would make a difference between one crankbait and another.
Well, that's the main difference is that, they've got very consistent on how they make them, especially, with Rapala, they're spitting image. But the problem is, we were going to weight them and get them balanced the way they need to be balanced, but they couldn't do it. Backley couldn't do it. That's why they called it a dredger. They just made it sink because they couldn't get it. The wood was just too inconsistent, and that's the way. That's just the way wood is, and that's what makes wood special. But and that's what makes when we were able to do this with the Fritz sides, it just it is phenomenal how consistent we got those. So now maybe we can make some that's a little bit deeper divers and get them real consistent too, because a lot of plastic baits are junk, and a lot of it's how they're made. And I remember back in the Bill Norman days, they were about the same way. You could buy 20 Bill Normans, you'd have one really good one. And the rest of them, you might as well put a bow on them and give them somebody for Christmas because they wouldn't work much. So
Yep.
that's what I did.
The old DD22, you had to go through. You buy 10 of them, you might get 1 or 2 that were good.
It really does what it's supposed to do.
Right. So we have a question. We have a question from one of our listeners asking about gear ratio. Yeah. So what gear ratio do you prefer for crankbait fishing, or do you change based on conditions?
Now, obviously, that can be very situational, but generally.
Well, if you want to catch the most fish, you need to be somewhere around 21 inches per turn. The thing is now, and I'm up here, I'm in Branson, Missouri right now, and I visited with Luz yesterday, and we had a discussion about this. Everybody wants to buy a 7.5 to 1 reel, 8.3 to 1 reel, and I'm thinking, man alive, I mean, you got to go dig out the old tackle stores to find reels with a low ratio. And
Absolutely.
the problem is, yeah, you can get bites with them, but catching them and getting them in the boat's a different story. So the 21 IPT inches per turn was always ideal for me because I like to wind fairly fast. And I could change that up, and I could make my reel a lot more versatile. And I'll tell you something that all your listeners, if you'll listen to me, I'm gonna tell you something that if you try it, you'll know what I'm telling you the truth.
Y'all
And,
listen up.
Yeah, this is very important. A lady at Lou's called me last year and said, we're going to quit making the BB1 multi-stop. And that's the reel I always use is 5:1 ratio, but add 21 inches per turn. But when you stop the handle would go back just a little bit. It didn't have the infinite and reverse. So here's my challenge to everybody's listening. Get two of the rods that are identical, whether they're David Fritts 7.5 cranking rods or whatever they may be. Get two rods that are identical. Put your favorite infinite and reverse reel on one, and go in there and dig you out an old Lou's reel, the old BB1s, or an old Daiwa Procaster or something that doesn't have infinite and reverse. Tie identical baits on it, and preferably one that puts out a lot of action, like the Killer Bees or DT6 or our diggers, which is about like the Bagley Killer Bees and stuff like that. That has a lot of action. And close your eyes, throw it out there, and start winding. And when you feel that bait first vibrate, stop it and let it float up. Do it with your infinite and reverse reel, and you're going to learn something.
I'll have to try that out. I think I got one of those. I think I got one of those at the house.
You're going to learn something. Everybody that I've ever been in the boat with, they can't believe it.
So,
And you can't believe it because you actually can feel the bait when it hits the water and you turn the reel handle 2 times. You can feel the vibration.
just to
And reverse reels, you can't do that. Everybody wants the latest and greatest, and sometimes and that's fine for certain baits, but it ain't for crankbaits and spinner baits.
I just want to clarify that to our listeners. Your infinite and in reverse, when you stop reeling, your handle will not come back at all.
Right.
Some of the older reels, it would come back just a little bit.
Does that actually allow the spool to come back too?
A little bit.
Yep,
Just
a little bit.
Spool, everything comes back.
Okay.
What infinite and reverse is that you have a bearing on the pinion that's right in the center of the reel, and it keeps that spool from ever going backwards. It keeps your handle from ever going backwards. But putting that pressure on that pinion takes away almost all your real sensitive feel. It don't matter what rod you have. You just can't feel your bait till you start feeling it with your rod, which is probably about 10 yards from you at best. And I'm feeling my bait out there 30 and 40 yards. So that's something that can help somebody that wants to be a better crankbait fisherman. That's the number one thing that can help them. Low stretch line and a reel that doesn't have infinite and reverse.
I'm gonna have to give that a try out.
Everything I've ever known about crankbaiting is wrong.
So I got a question for you, sir, and it's not on our script here, but just I see your shirt. I don't know if you can read mine. It says Bullet, but Chad and I actually both fish tournaments out of a Ranger. I have a 2000 Ranger that I've upgraded over the years. I just got the Bullet as a project because it's a Bullet and it was for a good price, but. Do you have any memorable moments with the late Forrest Wood, and can you talk us through what kind of a company that Ranger is? Because for so long they were the absolute pinnacle of bass boats, and I mean FLW was named after Forrest Wood. So
I disagree with the pinnacle.
Oh dear. Oh, here we go.
Oh God.
Well,
I have a champion. I'm a champion guy, so.
I won my first Ranger boat in 1985 at a Redmond Regional. And I liked it so good that I kept it. And I fished out of it. Then, I don't know, a couple years later, Ranger, I started getting a boat through a dealer where, we got delayed billing and I could fish out of it all year and sell it and get my money back and all that stuff. But I love that boat so much. And I actually, back then, they were a huge difference in boats, a huge difference. And a lot of it just by, sure, Ranger was a little bit heavier, but it's sort of like buying a 1.5 ton truck versus a 2.5 ton truck.
Right.
And that's about what the difference was in those boats. But Forrest Wood, I went to his funeral. I know Forrest real good, and Forrest would never. I mean, if you wasn't happy, buddy, you'd be happy after, especially if he knew about it. But that company was so strong and so good about every single thing. They listened to fishermen. They made improvements every year. I keep thinking. I remember must have been 1994 or 1995. I'm thinking I got a 461. I thought, you know what? They ain't gonna never make a boat better than this. But you know
Oh,
what?
those
Next
things
year,
were
their boat was
legendary boats. I mean, they
Yeah.
weren't fast, but anything you could throw at those 400 series Rangers were legend. So I love bass boats. I look at bass boats the way that some guys look at muscle cars, and those 400 series Rangers are like legendary because they were so heavy, but they could take anything you could throw at them.
Yeah, you could. I mean, they were pretty much indestructible, and you never had a breakdown. If you did, it was your engine.
Nope, lost it for
You
a
know,
second. There you go.
that boat companies are facing today is the same thing that auto manufacturers are facing, and that's electronics. And that's, all these little push button deals and all these little computer deals, and they get so much trouble. I mean, I've got a 2022 GMC truck, and right now there's 4 or 5 things don't even work. You have to go and get them tuned up, and that's the problem. The boats are still made as good, and I'm talking about every brand boat, but the thing that they're struggling with right now is and I think they're overcoming it. Maybe they're getting close to being out of that, but that's been the main problem with all boats, not any particular boat, is the way they're wired and all the sensors they have to go through. And why not make them like they used to? You turn a key switch and it cranks. Now you push
Amen.
a button, it
Amen.
cranks.
Because the EPA says no.
I will say the one thing that I'm looking at, I'm looking at buying a new boat over the winter here, and one of the things that's really turned me off with a lot of companies is how they're all operated by touchscreen, and with Ranger, you have the touchscreen, Nitro touchscreen, Phoenix touchscreen.
Yep.
I can't fix that if it breaks on the water.
Absolutely.
A toggle switch,
Absolutely.
a toggle switch. I can jump that, or I can, I get off the water. I can go to the hardware store, buy a new switch,
Just lick
fix
the
it.
fingers and twist them together.
So I'm really leery about going to one of those brands versus I've really been looking at Falcon because it's so simple the way that the boat's set up.
Sometimes simple is the best. I know Ranger, for the last couple of years, they've actually included a key that's underneath the dash. So if something does quit working, you can turn that key and crank it and get where you want to go. So,
I didn't know that.
I do
That's
know
awesome.
that they do that. But that's been a dilemma for the boat companies, and it still is with the car companies and tractors. That's why you look at a John Deere tractor that's made in 2000 brings more than it was new.
Yep.
Plus, people would rather buy it than a brand new one. One thing, you ain't got to put DEF in it, but the other thing is it's got all the electronics on it.
That's like a first-gen Cummins right now.
So me and Chad here, we used to own old 5.9 Cummins diesel trucks, and I still own mine, but it's the same. You're absolutely right. The simplicity is key because, like Paul said, if mine boat's a 2000 Ranger 518, if something goes wrong in the water, which it has, I can fix that. But if a touchscreen goes bad and all these things happen, I don't know what to do, So that kind of makes it challenging to go to that new technology when you got older minded people like us that are like, man, I don't really know how to even go about this stuff. So I absolutely agree with you.
Even then, it requires like an expert to fix that stuff. I mean, you have to be an expert in that stuff to be able to fix it. Right. Where simple electronics, especially on a boat. Like I'm less leery on a car, but on a boat when I'm out if I'm in the middle of Lake Ontario and a switch goes bad, I want to be able to I can pull that switch panel off and jump that switch, and my live wells are back working, and I can get going. So I feel like the companies just need to keep it. They need to keep it simple. I feel like simple is better, especially in the boat world.
Well, they've got the boats so good now. As far as Ranger goes, I mean, now they're trying to take electronics, just like the car companies, just like GMC trucks. They keep adding all these electronics where somebody's pulling beside of you, you got a light that comes on, or your seat vibrates, and
really,
it's just crazy. But that stuff's getting to the extreme. Before you know it, the truck will just decide to drive itself, which that's what they're working for, where you ain't even got to steer it.
Right.
That's just sometimes we got to look back at what got us where we are, and it's still pretty hard to compete with the way things were 10 years ago.
For sure.
Oh,
So we have to ask a question for our buddy Rob, who's the one who reached out to you. He wasn't able to make it here tonight. What he really wants to know, DT6 is his favorite crankbait ever. And he wants to know just a little bit about the history of that DT series and how that came about.
Well, the DT series, I don't remember 2000 and I don't know, it may have been early to mid 2000s. I threw, Rapala was a big time jerkbait company, and they were just getting going, and they called me and want me to help them with some crankbaits. And actually, I told them I could, and they had a bait that was called a down deep. Some of you guys may have remembered it. Yep. And actually, I won a few tournaments on that because it was so crazy. Every time you hit the bottom, the bait would jump to you, and you had to sort of figure that in with your field. But a lot of times that triggered a bite. But the problem was, after about 2 days of fishing, the bait would lose about 2 or 3 foot in depth because the lip material was made of would actually wear a little bit, and the bait wouldn't run as deep. So it started off with them calling me Yarmo Rapala. I'm sure you've heard that name.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I flew to Finland, and I stayed over there for, I don't know, 2 weeks of not sleeping because it's daylight all night long. and my foot and my legs hung 2 foot off the beds.
Oh,
Right,
my goodness,
right.
yeah.
But I took him out in a cornfield, and it took me a long time to show him what a crankbait needed to do. My first pet peeve is, if you got a crankbait and you can't throw it, it ain't worth nothing. And everybody knows there's a lot of crankbaits like that. If you can't throw it, it's not fun. And so I took him out in a cornfield and tied on the bait and started throwing it and let him throw it. Then we tied on a shad wrap, some of the baits that are real light. And he said, "Man, this doesn't throw like the other ones." And it took a while, but he understood that we need to make a long cast. And then I started talking to him about action and what they needed to do. And like I say, we tried to make some pro models that would suspend or barely float, but that got out of the question just because B.A.S.S was, and they was really good at it because they had a way of micing B.A.S.S and looking at the grade, and they could actually get them pretty closer than anybody I'd ever been with as far as consistency. And we just started working. I pretty much threw together a few baits. I said, "No, you got to send me baits and let me send them back." And we kept sending them back and forth for, I don't know, about a year. And that's how the DT series come about. And it took a while for them to catch on, but they're really good baits. They really are really good baits. The DT6 is it's won everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other baits out there right now that I made that are actually, I think, better than the DT6. They just hadn't caught on, or the right people hadn't had them in their hand. But
what baits are those?
I wanted to make a bait that
right. What baits are those?
That pushed a lot of water, and that bait does it, and that bait throws good. But it doesn't have a rattle. It doesn't have a lot of things, but sometimes a rattle is better than a non-rattle, and most of the time when fishing conditions are tough, a non-rattling bait is better than a rattling bait. But that particular bait, I really thought I'd messed up a little bit because I got the lip on it a little bit narrow. And then the more I fished with it, it's like, man, everywhere I threw that thing, fish were just slobbering it. I'm thinking, what in the world? You know, I made the first bait I made for Rapala. I'm trying to think of the name of Aristo Wrap. You ever heard that name,
Yep.
Aristo Wrap?
Oh yeah.
And they messed it up completely. And I didn't approve that bait, but then, you know, it's one of the best timber baits that's ever been sold, and people give you $100 for them right now. And because of the way it fishes around timber. And so when it comes to the other baits, I just sort of made up my mind, and I told them DT stands for David T. Fritts, if y'all didn't know that. Those are my initials. I told them we're going to call it the Down
Really?
2 series. That's my initials. So everything, I did all the work. I give them their whole game plan. I made the baits for them, and you know, they had it in a platter, Down 2 series, and that was the first. You know, nobody would tell you how deep their baits run, and here we have got DT 10, Down 2, 10 feet. So, and that was pretty easy. Actually, if you used the right line, you had a really good bait you could throw for, you could get it 11 or 12 feet. So, but 10 feet was not hard to achieve. And same way with the 14s and the 16s and the 20s. Actually, the 14 was one of my favorites. And then when it comes to the 6, I'm thinking, you know, this lip's a little bit narrow, but you know what? This thing's going to fish in grass good. And so you know, I don't know. I know maybe 2 classics. I don't know, but they've been a lot of tournaments won with that bait. But you know, making a crankbait ain't something you do in 1 or 2 weeks. You know, most of the Berkeley stuff we got 3 years into. The Fritts side, we've got 29 prototypes, and it costs you about $1,000 every prototype just to make and to say, nope, this ain't it. So you throw away $1,000. But when we got that thing really close, I said, give me 2 more weeks with it. And I made one little change. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I made one little change, and that bait just become a monster. I mean, I'm thinking, you know what? This is the best crankbait in the world. I mean, when I see it in a tank and I see it swimming, and I feel it on the end of my rod, I'm thinking, you know what? This thing is really, 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 really special. Not to say that I took the number 9, the Fritz side 9, which is not near as popular as a 5, but in testing it at Lake Hartwell, in 3 days I catch 7 bass over 8 pounds with it. I'm thinking, you know what? You know, I was really trying to make anything I try to make. I take the best bait in that category and I try to make it better. And you're talking about not a year's work, but years of work to do that. And to find those little bitty things that make that one Bill Norman better than the other 10, or that one pose that's better than the other 20, you know, it's something that you really can't see, but it's something you can feel. And that's why I say feel is the number one thing. And the same way with the DTs. And I remember I probably got the biggest cussing out I ever got in my life with Yarmo. He sent me one bait, and I've told this story several times.
I've heard this
And I
one.
taped a quarter to it and sent it back to him. He called me, wanted to know why I taped a quarter to it. I said, well, it's worth something now. You can take that well at all.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I haven't heard that story. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
shit.
So anyway, everybody that I works for definitely don't want to see me tape a quarter to anything.
So we don't want to keep you, sir. We really appreciate you joining us. I know we said 45 minutes, and I'm sure we've crested that at this point. But
55 minutes.
the last question we have for you, and we've talked about crankbaits, and you're obviously the man when it comes to crankbaits. But what is a situation where you will just, under no circumstances, throw a crankbait?
I don't know. I've never run across that.
So I'm so happy you say that because I
absolutely love it.
When I was asking, so I wrote it down a couple questions today on my lunch break at work, and I was like, you know what? All these questions are about crankbaits. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a situation where there's so like where we fish, we have matted grass for miles in the summertime. You now Paul and I are mere mortals compared to you when it comes to crankbaits fishing, but I can't throw a crankbait
Am
in
I
that
irrelevant
situation.
here?
Well, you don't fish the flats like we do.
I don't fish the flats like you do.
But like, there's no possible way to throw a crankbait, and it's like, and that kind of ties into another question that we have. And if in a situation where you're not throwing a crankbait, what is your number one go-to technique that's not cranking, and what situation would make you not throw a crankbait?
I bet it's a jig.
I guarantee
Well,
it's a jig.
usually I get beat pretty bad. Way back in the day when I'd catch them they'd jump my boat when I went out. But, during the spawn, I always struggled. And with a crankbait, even though I would still throw it and I could still get a few that was moving up, I could still catch a few. So, but any other time I throw a crankbait. But probably my best bait that I can do the best with is something like a lipless crankbait in a 3/4 ounce to a 1 ounce size and jig it up and down. Along with plastic, I've caught my boat full several times with plastic, with a Zoom Lizard, and especially with the new General out, I catch a lot of fish with it, and I love fishing that thing. It lasts. You tie it on, and you can actually catch more than one fish. And with some of the other brands, one bite, one bait, it's gone, and the bait costs $2. So,
Right.
But my second favorite way is almost like a jig and spoon, but I'm fishing a lipless crankbait that way.
Okay.
And I throw it out. I'll fish it in 2 feet of water. I'll fish it in 40 feet of water. And the thing with that, a lot of times you don't get near the bites you do on other baits, but for some reason, a great big fish will bite it. I can't tell you how many big fish awards I've won using that bait. And actually, I won Kentucky Lake FLW fishing the same thing. I threw it out there, and 5 casts, I've got 27 pounds. So,
So when you say fishing like a jig and spoon, we fish a lot of silver buddies around here. So fishing kind of similar to that.
Yep. But you cast it out, let it sink, and you can either wind it real fast for 7 or 8 winds and let it fall back on a slack line. Or my favorite way is, instead of making it fall towards you, making it fall straight down, throw it out, let it sink, and I rip my rod up, and you sort of wind easy and follow it down. Then you rip it up and you follow it down. And that technique is probably better for a big fish than, holding your rod at one place and winding it and letting it fall towards you. So making it fall straight down. But there's something, I don't care who you are, if you've got a limit of fish and you need to catch a big one, you need to be doing that. You may get a bite, you may not, but when you get a bite, he's going to be bigger than anything you got in your live well.
It's funny you mentioned that. My personal best largemouth, I caught on the Potomac, a little over 8 pounds. Caught doing exactly that in early winter. Same thing. Just pulling it off the bottom, letting it sink straight down. And I caught one a little over 8 pounds on the Potomac doing that.
Yeah, that's why a jig is so good for a big fish.
4 or 5.
You're fishing a jig, you're jerking it up and letting it fall straight down. And there's something about a falling bait that big fish like. So, and with me fishing something that I like to wind all the time, and actually I got where I fished a jig a lot that way. I'd throw it out and I'd just fish it faster. I'd let it fall, but before it actually touched the bottom, I would jerk it again. And just almost fish it like I was fishing a lipless crankbait, and I was pretty proficient at that. But that's a good way. It's not the way to fish to catch numbers, but it's the way you want to fish to catch a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 pound fish.
Got me an 8 pounder. Straight King red eye shad.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Dave, we don't want to keep you here any longer. We are so grateful that you decided to take the time to join us on our show and give us some tips and some secrets and talk to us about some of your notable achievements in the past, and just can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on here and talk to us and our viewers.
Oh, well, glad to do it. Just write me anytime. If I got time, I'll be glad to do it again.
We would love to have you come back
Thank
on
you, sir.
here again.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Love that. And if you're ever in the area,
Yep.
look us up.
Oh yeah, if you're fishing the Potomac or Upper Bay, I'll take you fishing anytime you want, sir. I promise you. I'll make myself available.
I see old Brian Lancaster once in a while, and Goldie, he was in the boat business and he fished on Potomac, but I think he's retired now. But Brian Lancaster, man, what a guy, great guy, and he owns some of those boat dealerships up there around your Marine. But
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
I knew. Yeah, that's what I thought so.
He's one good guy, and if you see him, tell him I said that.
Will do.
We will.
You ever deal with Bowers? Bowers in Pennsylvania?
I've never had any. I've never even done a show there that I know of. I've done them. Good Lord, I've done shows all over the United
Right.
States.
I thought they were
Actually,
like
I was on my first. I actually went to a dealer in, I think it was in Boston, and he said, "You want to have some fun this evening?" I said, "Sure." Went out and got on a snowmobile. Never been on one in my life.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
But man, that was a lot of fun. So a lot of good dealers out there, and especially a lot of good Ranger dealers. So anyway,
All right, sir. Thank you very much, and we would love to have you come back on again. We'll shoot you a message. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks again, sir.
oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Good luck, guys.
Absolute legend. That is crazy. Love it. Wow.
All right.
Well,
That was
exceeded expectations.
amazing. And I've had to take a leak since about
And
8:30.
we
Yeah,
are
I couldn't help it. I had to do it. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That is David Fritts, the Bassmaster Classic champion, the Forrest Wood Cup winner, the Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
I can't even believe that just happened.
Dude, that was awesome, man.
I'm God, that was awesome. I just took in so much information that my brain is overwhelmed. Right
I was
now.
over there watching you guys
Straight
writing
up.
notes, man. That was pretty cool.
I'm sitting here writing shit on the paper. I'm texting Scuba Steve over here. I'm like, you better be taking notes right now. I'm like,
Right. Dude, there's so many things, and so I loved the best part about that interview.
oh no, it ain't the end just yet. Miles, that's exactly what I wrote down on that paper too. I said 21-inch turn braid.
So the best part about that whole video, and you guys that know me will know exactly what I'm about to say here. The return to simplicity, man. That is my thing, is it not? That is my whole ass thing. I want simple. I want easy, straightforward. No, dude, I'm not throwing 4-pound tests because it's live scope and there's 3 clouds in the sky today. I'm not fucking doing that. Braid on a crankbait because I want to feel it, and I don't give a shit if the fish see my line.
That is 100% happening.
Dude, that got me pumped up. That really
it's
did.
Happened last year. It's happening next year. I will be throwing my freaking Mega Bass Levante crankbait special with braid. It'll be happening this coming season. I don't know if I'm going to buy a new reel.
Man.
I don't know if I'm going to buy a new reel with a different ratio just yet.
I just
you don't fish a.
And again, we got to give another
you don't
shout
have
out.
any 5-to-1 ratios.
I have
Dude,
no
I
idea.
don't.
My freaking mic was just muted. What?
We got to give another
You
shout
turned your
out
mic
to
off a long
Rob.
time ago.
Yeah, bro. We got to give another shout out to Rob. Rob, thanks a lot. I know Rob is not here with us, but Rob's here in spirit, and he's probably still watching. Rob, you're the man. You're able to pull these guys in and make this content great for us and for the viewers, man. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much.
Even when Rob has stuff going on in his life, he reaches out and he makes big things happen for Bass and Beer Radio. He's a huge team player behind the scenes. So.
I was trying to get it out of him, but I don't think he was.
I don't think
he was letting that up.
was happening.
He was
And I
obviously
didn't want the crankbait legend to hit the end button either. So
he was obviously talking about the UMA Lure Company crankbait.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he had to have been.
Right.
He had
That's
to
what he
have
was
I
talking
don't know, man. Just wait until I ship him one of Tyler's lures.
So, honestly, dude. Okay, so here's my thing. I wish we were in a
It's not
situation.
going to come back with a quarter on it.
Here's the best part about this whole. I want to take
That would make
David
it-
Fritts out on my boat in August on the flats, out in the middle, and be like, "So throw a crankbait."
Because he's not going to take you on the flats. He's going to go up in the river.
That's so true. That's so true, dude. But like,
So that's something that I wanted to mention. Like when you brought that up, you're like, oh well, it's the flats. It's choked with crank. There's always a place to throw a crankbait.
Yeah,
So you
true.
could throw a crankbait back channel on the edge. You know, going up the edge. Get a spot to throw a crankbait there. You know, you can throw a crankbait up that edge.
That doesn't mean that's always where the fish are, though.
There's
some
always going
there.
to be a fish on a grass edge.
Yeah,
There might not be the winning fish, but there's always going to be fish there.
I just find it so hard to throw crankbaits out on the flats midsummer and stuff, especially when you have like after a storm or it gets real hot, some of that grass dies, then you have floating grass.
Oh, it's the
you
worst.
throw a crankbait across a crankbait line, you're hung up or you're fouled up in a matter of seconds. So it's a time and place type of deal, but it's,
But then you can go, but no, like
you can
I'm
turn
saying,
around and run right up towards Susquehanna where
Exactly.
there isn't that much grass to go throw a crankbait.
go
There's
throw a
somewhere
crankbait.
to throw a
Go
crankbait.
to the northeast. You go to Sassafras.
Yeah.
You know, there's always places. You run to the gunpowder. You can go to the gunpowder, throw a crankbait in the gunpowder.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we throw crankbaits in the gunpowder all the time. You know?
I'll bring David Fritts back to the Forbidden Zone with all 30 boats.
If David Fritts is on my boat, no offense, Kevin, but I'm showing him some of our juice. You'll forgive me. It's David Fritts.
what did some of the comments say? So,
Some of your juice in the gunpowder?
Yeah. Some of me and Kevin's juice.
yeah, you and everybody else's juice. No, you guys probably have some shit that I don't. Dude, I don't put the time in on the gunpowder.
Yeah,
like
we
I
got
need
some
to.
same. I mean, we got some sneaky stuff.
Man, I didn't get on anything sneaky this year at all. Like, that was the thing. That was my whole year. I never found anything sneaky. Everything I found was like, everyone knows about this, but I'm just going to throw a thunder cricket
I've
and
never
see what
found.
happens.
I don't think I've ever found anything sneaky. Like, just like, oh, like, there's one log out here in the
Actually,
middle that fish are hanging
that's
out
not
on.
true.
Like, I've
For-
never done
You've
nothing
never
like
been, you never found stuff like that.
Nah.
For 3 weeks in June and the Thursday nighters, me and the Buck were on some sneaky shit.
You guys,
Yes,
you guys
yes,
have some.
until you were followed to it.
Well, no, I knew about it. I mean, he told me about it, but I just when he told me about it, he knew that I knew about it.
Right.
So,
But it's also like, I
know,
know
that's,
if I tell Paul this is where I'm fishing, Paul's not going to go there.
no,
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's.
not for a couple weeks anyway. I might give it.
Oh, dude.
I'll give you a couple weeks. To
I went back like 4 times after like mid-June and I never caught shit there.
me a
It was
beer,
really
please.
annoying.
Yeah, I went there a couple of times and I never caught anything.
I just can't get
few of
over, like, I'm so hyped about our interview with David Fritts.
That
right
is
now.
so amazing.
That was freaking cool.
David Fritts has been. Yeah, I've followed David Fritts since I was a teenager in the early '90s. Watching on TNN. Yeah.
How about the fact that we've been doing this show now for almost 2 years, and the first couple months were awesome, but we didn't have. I mean, we had our friends following us and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But in the last year, dude, we've had 2 Bassmaster Classic winners on this podcast, which is exponential. And a lot of the, not to keep bringing it up, but to keep bringing it up. A lot of that thanks goes to Rob for doing this. But like,
Oh, yeah.
honestly,
that does absolutely go to. I think
Rob is the man.
I think Rob has gotten all 3
You got Logan
of the
Parks too.
professionals
That's right.
that we've had. He got
Yep.
Logan Parks. He's gotten
Denny
Mr.
Brower.
Denny
Denny
Brower
Brower
and
and
David
David
Fritts
Fritts.
on the show for us. And I just gotta say, I don't have the balls to hit these dudes up and be like, "Come on my show." And I know that's not how Rob handles it. But
So
it's
here's
like,
the thing
you know
about
what I
our
mean?
show that I think like
I'm intimidated to reach out to these professionals. And then not to mention, David came on the show and I was like, oh.
but here's the thing.
And then he just laughed at us. That was great.
All the other shows out there, and not to say that they're not great shows, because they are. A lot of the other shows out there, they ask cookie cutter questions. They say, oh, well, what's the best this? And like, live scope. Let's all talk about that. It was like, we let the man talk about his experience and his stuff, and we read people's comments. Like, whatever podcast you want, they're not reading other people's comments and questions on it. And that's what we do. It's not, it's cool for us to say, hey, we got a chance to talk with Denny Brower or Logan Parks, David Fritts, or whoever's next, right? The cool part is you guys get to ask questions, and we get to ask our guests on your behalf. You know, and hopefully everybody learns something and becomes a better fisherman because of it. Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
I took so much away from that.
John, that's a good suggestion. I might reach out to him. I've fished against Adrian a few times.
Who's that guy that you fished with in the Sassafras? That one who's Elite Series.
Oh, Fabian Rodriguez.
We should
Delaware
reach
guy.
out to him, man.
Yeah, cool dude. Super nice guy. That could be interesting just to get the locals' perspective on fishing the Elite Series.
Right.
Grab him, Tony.
You know, and what his what is
Chad's dog.
Tom Over says we need Matt Robertson on next.
Oh my God, that would be
I would, dude.
insane.
Oh,
That's we
Chad,
get like
I'd be
2 cases
crashing
of
at
beer
your-
for that.
I'd
shit.
be crashing at your house
That's fine.
because
We're getting hammered drunk on that one.
I feel like I have to be. Like it's a
Yeah.
requirement, right?
I still want to have so one of the first guests we ever had on the show was Cliff Sanders.
Cliff Sanders.
Who was like
would love to have Cliff come
a
back
huge
on. By the way.
mentor
I'm
to
kind
me.
of surprised we didn't see Cliff on
Tony.
here tonight.
Yes. So
Thank you.
like one of the and you know hopefully he's listening to this, but so Cliff was one of the biggest mentors to me both with fishing and in my military career. Like I look up to that man like crazy.
Little
Like, he
John,
doesn't
get
even
us hooked
understand.
up, brother.
But I would love to have Cliff back on the show. So I don't think he talked about it,
That's-
but Cliff, one of my favorite stories from Cliff because he coached me
That's a pretty
through
funny comment.
the college series and all that stuff. That is a good one. So
Fine, Kyle.
Cliff was filling in at at the Strike King Owners Tournament against Brower, KVD, Mark Zona, and all these guys. So Cliff's launching his boat, a brand new Ranger at the time, and I can't remember if it was KVD or Mark Zona. They were trying to film a show, and they're like, "Hey man, we're running late. Do you mind if we launch in front of you?" And he's like, "Who are you?" Knowing who they were, and they're like, "Oh, it's like Mark Zona." He's like, "Nah, man, get in fucking line." And then he rolled down his window. He was like, "I'm just kidding, man. You can absolutely launch in front of me." I was like, "Goddamn!" Like, it was legendary.
And
Like,
Zona probably thought that was hilarious.
oh, he did. Like
Because-
he said they were cool, and I don't remember who it was. It was either KVD or Zona. He said he finished ahead of them in the tournament. It was on Kentucky Lake, which is where Cliff fishes. So.
Probably Zona.
Yeah.
KVD kind of wrecks someone. He's been known to wreck them.
Dude,
like
but Kentucky Lake, man, the Kentucky Lake has just been a sad place for the last
It's getting better.
It is. It is.
It's on upswing.
It definitely is.
Did you see? Oh, you weren't. I don't think you were on the when we
Shit!
brought
I
this
didn't
up.
start the recording.
Oh no.
Megan, where are
watch-
you?
We can watch it on Facebook.
This is
Yeah, we
this is
did.
Megan's fault. Blame her.
Oh, it's on YouTube. It's fine. We're fine.
It's still
Yeah.
Megan's fault.
Yeah, we can save it.
I just
What
gotta
was your
separate the
fault?
audio from the video so I can put it into our podcast stream, which I haven't started yet.
We're getting to it.
We only have 40
Have you-
episodes to upload.
Have you seen the size of the smallmouth they're catching out of Kentucky Lake recently?
Is it Kentucky or Barkley?
Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've heard Barkley Dam was like the juice for a while. But
They are
that's
they are
awesome.
catching some big smallmouth out of Kentucky Lake.
So
Ask Cliff about that the next time you talk to him.
So
they've
the
been
Asian
catching.
carp, is that like a non-issue now, or
It's not. It's not a non-issue, but they've worked really hard to control the population. Thank you, Mark Menendez, actually, who really spearheaded.
You are
that.
absolutely correct. Yeah, he's done a great job.
And was able to get legislation passed for them to be able to help control that. But yeah, I've been just noticing on Facebook from like jackpot tournaments and stuff they're catching some big smallmouth, and you never saw smallmouth like that coming out of Kentucky.
You'd see him come out of Barkley a lot. Like,
Yeah.
tournaments would launch in like mid to South Barkley, and guys would run up to the dam and shit. But like,
now that's saying that's not saying that they're not locking through, but
oh, I'm sure they are. But the other, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, now, granted, when I fished Kentucky Lake, I didn't know nearly what I know about fishing now. But not that I know a whole lot now. But the first time I put my boat into Kentucky Lake, I was like, damn, dude, this is like Conowingo. Like, it's just as wide. Like, this is awesome. And then I caught nothing.
Rob is working on our next guest.
Oh,
our
dear.
next guest is a maybe.
Who's
Oh, I can't say. We can't. We'll talk about it after the show.
Did he text you or is that in the group chat?
It's in the group chat.
I had to mute the group chat because you guys like blow my phone up.
Just
Oh
silence.
my goodness! How could you do that to us?
Just silence the group chat.
I did. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the next guest, guys.
This
If
could
the
be a good
next
one.
guest happens
This could be
Y'all
a good
have
one.
better share the ever-loving nonsense out of this page. That's
be
all
a-
I can tell you.
That would be a good one. You know what I'm really impressed about? None of us. We all followed the rules during Mr. Fritz's.
We
Look,
did.
I gotta say, while we're talking about this right now, I'm just saying, started Bass and Beer Radio in December of 2021. Started Bass and Beer Radio
No, I thought it was 22.
Two?
Had to be 22.
22.
We're 2 years, yeah. We're 2 years now. Rome is not built in a day.
Yeah.
No.
We're not. I'm not sitting out here thinking that we're gonna have 5,000 followers in 1 year, 2 years. I mean, it happens to people. We're a small district out of Maryland. We're some local guys. We have some local hammers. We're some local guys just trying to have some fun on a podcast, and we're slowly starting to bring in some more people as we get more views. And honestly, guys, the more followers we get and the more viewers we get, the more willing some of these professionals are going to be to come on our show.
There's a bad echo.
Serious echo.
Yes, there's a serious echo. Serious echo.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. That probably fixed it.
Are we better now, Dan?
It was catching it was picking up both on the microphone and the webcam. I just shut that off.
Ah, good. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of what we've done.
Yeah. We've been consistent. We've had a lot of fun doing what we're doing. We've covered the Thursday night tournaments and had a great time covering the Thursday night tournaments. Dan says still echo. How about I do this? Because I don't even freaking need it. We're going to go back to that. Did that fix it? It's just because I added a second camera, and I'm just forgetting a setting I need to change. I just deleted the camera.
All right, perfect.
All right, there we go. Sorry, fellas. Yeah, dude, we're having a great time. We started this 2 years ago, and honestly, my goal for this podcast 2 years ago was honestly just to kind of bring some of the local fishermen together. That was kind of my goal in the long run was, hey man, do this. Talk to a lot of local people. Get everybody that's in the area involved on one page, and then people start to make friends with each other, and then you create camaraderie at the boat ramp
Right.
and
A community.
that
was the goal, was a community.
And
it was never to be, the next Ben Milligan.
No,
or,
that's not the goal.
Or Luke Duncan, however you wanted to be. But, we just want to provide some good quality entertainment for you guys.
Right.
About what's going on locally in the area.
My biggest thing, and I've told Chad this, a million times, my biggest thing with it is, if I can help somebody be a better, be a little bit better fisherman, that's my goal with this. We've done. I feel like we've done a great job being able to bring people like David Fritts to you. No, Lloyd, I'm drinking Mick Ultra.
Damn,
I think we've
welcome.
done.
I hope you were on the whole time.
I would just like to prove that is a Michelob Ultra.
And, I think we have done a good job here, and we're growing slowly. And the goal is not to be, the biggest stars on YouTube.
But here's the
if
thing.
It happens, it happens. But
Here's how we grow. Here's how we grow from you guys.
Exactly.
You guys,
we grow from you guys,
and you share, and you send to your friends, and you send to your buddies, and that's how
big
we
things.
grow.
You know
it
what?
helps a lot.
You know what really, it really made me feel good was, when I was scrolling through Facebook while I was at work because, well, I was putting off work.
Fair point. Your boss doesn't watch this, right? Okay, good.
No, it's not about.
Mine probably does.
It's not about jujitsu, so he definitely doesn't watch it. But seeing how, every time I would scroll through, I saw somebody that shared this. I saw, Danny Rodriguez, shared our podcast for this, this week when we announced that David Fritts was coming on, and Mr. Scott and Tyler and Tom Over and too many. I can't name all of them that I saw, but I really appreciate you guys. Doing that for us, that really helps us out, and you have no idea how much we appreciate it.
Yeah, it really helps us grow and have more fun, and it's not about having more people follow us, honestly. It's about having it's about having more input in our conversations. It's about having more people join on our conversations, comment, bring more things to the table when we're talking about fishing. There's nothing more I love than when we have a show on one topic and we have 250 comments down in the bottom
sure.
from just people that are engaging in something that they relate to. And that's really what we strive to do. And for 2024, our goal was definitely to go bring you guys some more professional interviews from some of the pros, stuff like that. And just keep growing from there. And we just want to say we appreciate you guys and keep smacking that like button and keep hitting that share button for us because it makes a massive difference.
It does. It
Lloyd,
truly
I'll
does.
definitely give you a call before I go down there.
So what, you TBF? Was it
TBF National Championship.
very cool. What was the one you fished to? That was Conroe, right?
Conroe,
Okay.
yeah. So
Very
I did fish Rayburn a few days while I was down there. Me and Frank.
It's huge, right?
It's
just a monster lake.
So we spent 3 days out there and we never left one creek.
So
we
it's a
never
little bit
fished,
bigger than
we never
Conroe?
fished. Just a hair.
I would almost be mad. I'd be like, I want to see more of this place.
Well, so the first day that we went out, we launched out of this one creek, and we're like, well, maybe we'll run over to the spot because we talked to a local. We stopped at me and Frank are tackle junkies, so we stopped at every tackle shop. Every single tackle shop.
No.
I bet that there was not a tackle shop between Rayburn and Conroe that we didn't stop at. That trip cost me so much money just in tackle.
Do the shops down there carry like big glide baits and all that shit?
No.
Just because it's like bigger water and stuff?
So there wasn't a lot of glide bait stuff.
Yeah.
Not a lot of swim bait stuff, but it was like your typical stuff that you would think of for like this big waters. A lot of deep crankbaits and stuff. That you don't
Big
see a lot
worms,
around here.
shit like that.
Big worms, 8-inch lizards, stuff like that.
Do you know how tempted I was to ask Dave if he's ever thrown a swim bait before?
Now that being said, I am taking my glide baits with me
Yes.
for sure. I was talking to Tom Bavaro the other night. We were talking about the trip, just kind of getting some details together.
Tell him to come on Bass and Beer Radio.
And he was like, make sure you throw a couple of them extra glide baits in there, because if you're out with me and you start whacking them, I might want to borrow one from you. It's like I might have to learn how to throw one.
Dude, if I'm just putting it out there, if any of you guys are going down on a big trip and you guys would like to borrow a big bait, just let me know.
I won't borrow any of your baits. Too expensive to replace. And with my luck, my line would get like wrapped around the end of my rod, and I'd launch that bitch like 200
I mean,
yards
dude,
away.
it's one of them things where like it would suck if it got lost or some shit like that, but it is what it is. I'd rather my shit get hook rashed in it and have somebody have a good time with it than
Now,
set up on the shelf.
that being said, if you wanted to come out with me, this spring when them big stripers are in there.
Oh, yeah.
Them two punkers that are up there.
Them two big old lunky punkies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
buddy.
love to toss those around.
Let's do it. You got to be getting yourself one of them Fury broomsticks real quick, though.
How much does that weigh?
It's like 4 ounces.
Oh. But, yeah, I'm good.
Do you have a 4 ounce rod?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. It's my
I got a-
flipping stick.
I got a-
put a different reel on it.
I got a 1 to 4. My swim bait rod.
I bet that'll probably be
It's a little stiff, too.
That's 1 to 8, and it feel not 1 to 8. That's like 3 to 8, and it still feels freaking heavy on it.
Yeah, I can say that like my swim bait rods, it's a little on the heavier side. I mean, I've thrown that 9-inch black talon. It throws that no problem.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like loading up the rod.
We have a fan on here that has been actually talking to me and really, really wants to come on the show.
Oh yeah.
Little John Hansen.
Oh, little John Hansen.
So I think we got to get Little John Hansen
get him
up here on the show
think
here
we
pretty
should.
soon.
Well, yeah, we should.
We have to have a tournament. Little John Hansen versus Bradley.
Bradley.
Little John versus Little Brad.
Yes.
Little John does Little John get to use the Bass Cat and Brad gets to use the?
He gets to.
It doesn't even
use
matter in the
trolling motor.
gunpowder.
Yeah.
I
true.
mean,
Unless
put
it
Little
kinda
Brad.
doesn't.
I'll take out Little Bradley. John can take out John. We'll see who goes.
Oh, we're
If
getting-
anything,
we're
you
getting
should
competitive
switch.
now.
If anything, you should take.
There we go.
If anything,
And
you
then
should
me
take
and
John.
Scuba will get up in there.
Oh, switch it up.
Yes. If anything, you should take John, and then
And
we'll call
John-
him
Oh,
Johnny.
you and John and Bradley and
Bradley
Little
and-
John.
Bradley and Big John.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
And me and Little
Do the
John.
old swap-a-doo.
Yeah, we'll
I
swap
like
a
that.
do.
What do you think
Yeah.
about that, Little John? You fish with Paul. Bradley fishes with John.
Oh,
You guys duke it out.
Oh, Little John talking some shit.
Woo!
Hey, when you get enough guts to call me up on Conowingo, you let me know.
Well,
How's that sound?
I mean, I did just win a tournament there last weekend with a whopping 12 pounds, Little John.
Hammer.
But we did catch like 85% of the fish caught in that tournament.
Yeah.
Right.
You definitely found the juice in that one.
There were 7 fish weighed in that tournament, and we had 5 of them.
Yeah, see, I don't know, man. Like,
It was tough.
that's not my thing. Like, if you're talking about 7 boats and 7 fish, like, I'm duck hunting. Like, I don't care if I see anything. That's just more fun.
Hey, dude, we put 6 keepers in the boat.
I mean, to 100% to your credit, but like me personally, like, it's January and it's cold and it's like
No, we would have ran.
Let's see, silver buddy all day or duck hunt. Yeah, I'm duck hunting.
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted
Like
to.
duck hunting. It's cool.
I wanted to go to our spot.
You mean my spot?
Our spot.
My spot.
It became our spot when you showed it to me.
Can I come?
Yes, sure.
So
That was wait a minute. What's today? Today's the 5th. 5 years ago to the day. 5 years ago, I found that spot.
you and Chad.
Yes, dude. Yeah,
I will say-
Buckland. Me and
I
Buckland.
thought you found that shit 2 years ago.
No, it was a while
Me
ago.
and Buckland found that. I can't believe it's been 5 years.
I didn't even know you were fishing with Buck 5 years
Because
ago.
I didn't.
That was it was the first time we ever
Tony-
fished together.
No shit.
because Tony showed it to me like 3 or 4 years.
Out
ago.
on the bay when you had like 20 pounds that day?
Like 25.
Yeah, over. It
Yeah.
was like 26.
Yeah, they had.
Yeah.
They
It
had
was
a
ridiculous.
huge-
He had one over 8. I had 2 or 3 over 6.
Son of a bitch.
Dude, it was ridiculous. The best part about it
I
was
could wet a line a million times. I'll never pull out an 8 pounder.
we fished all day. Didn't catch shit. Did not catch a fucking thing. And then I was like, man, this sucks. I got one. It's like 2 o'clock. We fished hard all day. Didn't catch anything. I was like, well, I got one spot I want to try. He's like, all right, well, we ain't going to catch them. I'm like, well, it's close to the ramp. We're just going to go. We go. I catch one on a crankbait. Believe it or not.
Fritz side.
Nope.
No, it wasn't. So I catch one. It's like 4 pounds. I'm like, okay, well, we didn't get skunked. That's cool. So then he throws. I'm throwing the same direction. So Chad's cool to fish with because you could be fishing a grass line and he'll throw it out the complete opposite direction of the boat and catch a fish. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And then he's got a fish on. It's like it's insane. I call it the Chad Buckland special. Like, if you're fishing something obvious, just turn around and throw it the other way and see if you catch one. Like, I'm just
I'm just gonna throw a Carolina rig out to like 40 feet of water.
He does it. He does that shit, and it drives me fucking crazy. Because we'll be fishing like a stretch of bank that's got logs, and he's throwing it out there into nothing. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, get the net. What do you mean? Oh my god, he's got a fish one. Like, so that's what happens. So we sat there for an hour, like no shit, an hour, and caught a fish every cast. And he had 1 over 8. I had 2 over 6. I mean, it was unbelievable.
John, I that's funny you said that. I watched a guy in Joppatown one day. It was very, very early spring, late winter. I watched him catch a duck on a fucking spinnerbait.
What kind of duck was
A
it?
duck?
Mallard.
And where was
What,
it?
it just, did it dive for it?
In Rumsey.
Did it look like
I
it was
don't know
going to
how
fly
I don't
towards
know.
the back of Bird River where I may or may not have a blind sight?
Scuba Steve may or may not have definitely yoked into a beaver.
Wait a
one
minute.
time.
I caught
You
a
were
herring.
with me.
Remember?
We caught a herring
dude,
at
I
freaking
with
Anna,
me
dude.
and
That
him.
was wild.
Oh, that was awful.
Thursday-
I felt so
one of the
bad.
Thursday-
Tony was scared of it.
One of the
Okay,
Thursday.
wait a minute. I grabbed it by the face, first of all.
After you were terrified, you were like, its beak is going to cut me.
I
one of
felt
the-
bad. I was like, damn it, I don't want to
One of
kill
the
this thing.
one of the Thursday nighters, Evan caught a beaver.
No shit.
Yeah.
Was his name Wyona?
Why own out of
Wait, did he like get it to the
Wyona's
boat?
going to bring brown beaver in. She stuck it up in the
Yeah.
air.
Did he get the hook out?
I think he was with Rob. Ask Rob.
Rob, are you here?
You don't have a good video.
I
of that
don't-
beaver.
I
Hold on
don't-
a minute. Can we still share videos on here?
What, the one of the beaver attacking the boat?
Yes.
So-
I have that saved on the computer already.
Dude, share it because we're talking about
If I
Wyona's
can-
big brown
if
beaver.
I-
So I was fishing in Mansion Cove one day with Mac, who was on. He was watching earlier. I don't know if he's still on, but there's this heron on the bank, and I'm throwing a Fritz side to be kind of
Right.
convenient. I'm throwing a Fritz side, And like I bombed this Fritts side up the bank, and like as my crankbait's like at its apex, this heron takes off from the bank.
Dude,
And
that's exactly how it happened to
Exactly
me.
what happened.
That's
Exactly what happened.
And it hooked it in the armpit. Like it went over its wing and like hooked it in the armpit.
Dude, I was so mad. Like,
Hey, there's little Bradley. Look, what's up, little Bradley?
Bradley. Hey, Brad. I don't know.
There's Mac.
Dude,
Brad, I don't know if
throwing
you
a
know this or not yet,
spinnerbait,
but we
man.
entered you into a tournament and you're just not aware of it.
Yeah, you're either fishing with me or Big John Hansen.
You're going to fish with Big John Hansen, and then Little John is going to fish with Paul.
So, me and Chad, we're fishing Lake Anna, and we're throwing a riprap bank, and I'm
War of the shortcakes.
throwing a spinnerbait, and I'm just
War of the teeny boppers.
Right. You just said teeny boppers. God, that like gave me the heebie-jeebies. But anyway, I'm just bombing this spinnerbait, chunking and winding type of shit, just reeling it in, throwing it out, just burning it. And just like you said, I throw the spinnerbait, and it's peak air, and here comes this heron. Just completely hits the line, kamikazes itself into the lake, and I'm just like, dude, there's no way.
What are the chances of me getting you to re-enable that?
Reenact.
Reenact that.
It was like The Walking Dead, dude. I swear to God, it was.
Brad's at 20 seconds of pine, but all right, sounds good.
Dude,
I know Bradley ain't scared to fish the gunpowder.
So I felt so bad because it wasn't hooked. It was never hooked. But the line was wrapped around this thing, and I'm like, dude, if I like hold tension on this motherfucker, it's just the line's gonna cut into him, and that's gonna hurt it.
It wasn't
Like,
dude. It was so stupid, dude. Like, I saw it happen before it even happened. This bird jumps, Tony casts at about the same time, and I was like, this is happening right now. I was like, I don't think the lure was actually off the tip of his rod yet, and I was like, it's gonna fly underneath that line.
that's exactly what happened.
And it's
That's exactly what happened to me,
it
too.
did. Flew right underneath of it, goes in the water, goes up on the bank. First off, we're at Anna. We have no idea whose property we're walking up on.
No.
These are $1 million shore houses.
Yeah, I
You
totally
ain't gonna
don't
lie.
do that.
I ain't gonna
You know what I mean?
trespass.
I ain't gonna lie. I yanked that bird right down into the water. It was still in the air. It tightened up, and I went, and it just went. Rah!
Yeah, ours didn't do that. It hit it, and then it got tangled, and then it just went.
And then
in,
it was
and
like,
then it was weird, and so it ran up into the woods kind of because Tony let his bail out. So like
would've
it's
heard
just
it,
like
dude.
it's like pulling line, like going up into the woods.
hurt
Should
it.
be fine.
It wasn't his fault.
And so we finally catch it and hold it and like get it untangled. It actually didn't get hooked. It was just wrapped up in the line.
So Little John says they need a tournament series between the two of them.
We're just gonna do one tournament.
Northeast Conowingo and Joppatown.
Then I don't know if Bass and B Radio has enough time to do a whole series.
It's
for
just gonna be
you
one
guys,
tournament.
But one thing I do want to do I've thought about this before, but Lou actually messaged me the other day. I think it would be really fun to run a John boat tournament one day. Just one.
But I don't have a John boat.
Yeah.
I have one.
Well,
You
I
follow
have
me.
one.
Me and Tony are.
You find somebody with a John boat.
Me and Tony are taking that then.
Do a John boat thing, and then I definitely want to do a 1, 2, 3 tour, just normal things.
We do need to do like a spring open or something.
Yeah, just do like a spring open thing. Do a little John boat open series. Ooh, what if we did John boat wars? What if we there was no rules? You could run into each other's John boats and stuff.
Do I have to dress like Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal or something?
I feel like
would
you-
do
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
I would do that.
I feel like you
paint,
and-
like every team has a paintball gun. You can freaking pop, 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 pop,
I feel like you and Rob did that at a Thursday nighter one time.
It's on video. And yes, Rob 100% ran his boat right into the side of me. I love it.
Please don't run into my fiberglass.
No, I won't do that. Please don't run into my aluminum Ranger.
So the question, since we're talking about boats, if I put the 300X on this, do I race John Hansen's Bass Cat?
100%.
Yes, you do.
Because you're going to smoke him.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe. I don't know, dude. That boat is fast.
Dude,
With
we're talking about 100 miles an hour.
That bullet with a 300 is
Yeah,
high
yeah.
90s.
You're right.
That's high 90s.
Well, because it's the 21. The 20 XD
Is
bullet.
yours a 21?
It's
or
a 21.
It's
yeah.
a 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking at
Still in the-
mid 90s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. with 300.
I know. I know. Chris Huffman's 20 XD with a 300. He had it to like 98.
He said he got afraid of it or something. He said it had more in it.
He had a video of him coming up the back channel, and there was no boat in the water.
Right. Oh,
like
yeah.
it like you could. I feel like you could see underneath the boat because the video was off the pier, and I feel like you could like just look underneath the boat. It was insane. Yeah.
Well, John's actually.
I will not be in your boat for that.
No. So John's actually right. John says in the turns, the Bass Cat's all day. And he's right. But straight line distance, like running
Who
from.
races nobody races a bass boat through turns.
Like, let's run
You're
from
a bass boat,
Dundee.
you're going wide open.
Let's
I
run
don't know,
from Dundee
dude.
to
That
the
freaking
flat.
bass boats handle like an all-wheel drive car around some of them turns. Dude.
Not
They
when
just
you get-
hug shit.
Not when you get in those speeds.
I don't know, dude. Freaking Greg
No,
hit that
that's how you do a
hairpin coming out of the.
180.
I've never.
Yeah, but Greg's doing 55.
That's fast.
That's not. Add another 30 miles an hour onto that.
I can't wait to take you on this bullet.
You know,
Who's
that's
running
gonna,
80 miles an hour through back channels like that?
I will be.
You must not have been around for the. You weren't around for the days that it wasn't 6 mile an hour.
Dude, those days
Oh, no,
weren't that
I'm
long
just-
ago.
Well,
Like,
it doesn't matter if
Guys
it's 6
running-
mile an hour now. If it's not during the tournament,
Guys
I'm running.
guys running back to the. I remember a summer solstice tournament.
I run the quarry.
The first one I
Guys
fished, there
running-
was no 6 mile an hour.
Guys running back to the quarry, doing like 65 through the quarry canal.
That was me. The first solstice tournament I fished in like 2017.
Personally,
there was
I
no
think it's
6 mile an
better
hour.
to do that to the quarry canal until you get to the very end of the channel. Then I set it down.
When did the 6 mile an hour happen? Was it 19?
5 years
right?
ago.
19. So 19.
18, I think.
So it couldn't have been 18. Well, maybe it was because
Gotta pee.
I don't think it was 18 or it was later 18 because the first solstice that I fished was
I think
in
it got
18.
passed in 18. I think that's when I think that's when it passed.
Because
So
I got
it would have started.
the
in 19.
first solstice I fished, I got second with one fish.
It was definitely before COVID.
Oh yeah. I did. I got second with one fish in 2018, I think it was, and I ran way the hell back to the quarry.
Is
I
that the
didn't give a
one?
Shit.
So is that the one that Clint lost the big fish in?
Maybe Clint was fishing with Kevin because
Yeah,
I had just.
I didn't fish that. I didn't. Fish
I
that
had
one.
just joined Team Outcast, and
I was. I don't know if that's the same one or not.
Clint kind of gave me a hard time. Well, not really, but he was joking. He was like, "Damn, we just let you in the club, and you come out here and get second in this." I was like, "Dude, I caught one fish."
Was Clint fishing over in like the Days Cove Canal?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't even know what Clint's boat looked like at the time.
He was
new.
where your uncle lost that big one. That
He's lost. Oh,
You know what I'm talking about.
Maybe
Was it that
I don't
one?
know because I went into the quarry canal
because I don't remember. I don't remember ever fishing against you. No, you know what? That wasn't that one because it was 6 mile an hour before that. Because I remember the year before I won the summer solstice and I had to idle to where I got to. So
I've
it's
never-
been a while. I mean,
So-
it's been quite a while. It
Don't
was
get me
definitely
wrong.
when I got. You know what? It was 2018 because it was the year I got my boat.
Okay, so the solstice in 18. Hold on, I can find the Instagram post because I posted a picture. I didn't post a picture because I had one fish. so I
Well,
didn't take a
$300
picture.
bullet is significantly faster than a 450 Jag.
It's actually not even close.
Yeah, by about 20 miles an hour.
Don't get me wrong. Now, when it comes to putting the trolling motor down and fishing, the Jag all day, all day.
Your a 450R on a Jaguar still only pushes that boat like 80 miles an hour. Mostly because that boat weighs about 5,000 pounds.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna
That's a
find
big
the
boat.
videos.
That basket, that is a sick boat though, but it is
dude, that's-
giant. I mean, you're talking about a 22-foot boat that's just freaking heavy as all get out. The best thing about the Jaguar is those were actually the Jaguars were built for the Great Lakes, so they are specifically made to handle really, really big water. Find it yet?
No, I'm still looking. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. It was June 2018 because I posted this in June 24th, 2018. It was a picture of Gerald Swindle. It wasn't even a picture of my fish because I didn't take a picture. There was one fish. I was like, there's no way. So that
I remember that
been,
one tournament being really tough.
I'm telling you, like the only guys that caught a limit won the tournament, and I got second with a 3.5 pound fish for one fish.
That was like that last Thursday nighter.
Dude, that one sucked.
That
I mean,
sucked.
so the reason why it sucked is because they fucking shocked all the fish.
No. The water was super high.
Yeah, but the shocking the fish couldn't have hurt. I mean, couldn't.
I'm sure it didn't help, but the water was super. I mean, me and Frank had the fish on to win. We just couldn't put them in the boat.
I didn't have the fish on to win at all.
We weighed in two fish, and I mean we lost a 3, like a 2 and 3, 2.5, and we lost another good one that we didn't see. So we would have been up there. John Hansen won that one actually. John Hansen and Steve.
Yep.
Maybe that will fix our keyframe issues that I don't think anybody's really been messing with. But we
I
never
think so.
get this thing with keyframe rate too low. I've been messing with my KBS because I've been streaming video games, and I think that's why.
Yeah, that last Thursday nighter was super tough. So
Our video game streams have been legendary.
We've been having fun.
I don't have a very good track record in the summer solstice tournaments.
Dude, I don't either. Well, I got second and third. I haven't won.
I have a second, a first, a fourth, and I believe I've sucked in the rest of them.
I have a sixth, and
So
you have a lunker.
I have a sixth.
You have a
and
lunker.
I have a lunker.
Yeah.
So last year,
I have one.
And
lunker.
I'm not mad about that 6, dude. I feel like 6 out of like 40 boats is not bad.
Yeah.
dude, I was
I'm not
like
upset about it.
I was pissed last
Kicked my
year
ass.
because I fished with Buckland, and you can ask Nick and Tom about this. I literally didn't have the trolling motor down. I got to the spot and the place where I was fishing and caught a fish first cast on a frog in May, and I was like, dude, this is gonna happen. And we caught probably 6, 7, 8 fish, but they were all 2 pounds. Like I could not catch a big fish, and it just pissed me off because, like, it was at the point where it was like, dude, I have no confidence in this. I know we're gonna get bit here, but I cannot catch a big fish. Again, it sucks.
I know I fished the one solstice with Kevin. That was we got fourth. We were very close to to being in the money, and that was one of the bigger ones. It was like 35 boats.
Right.
And we ran to Dundee, and we caught a couple in Dundee, and I was like, yeah, this is the same thing. Like we're gonna we're 100% gonna catch a limit here, but we're catching 1.5 pounders. So like, it's not doing us any good.
Right.
So we left and ended up calling out all the fish that we caught in Dundee. We ended up catching a limit in Dundee, and then we left and we called them all out in one spot, making one cast.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that summer solstice that's a tough tournament to win. Me and Frank won it one year. We actually won. We had
I remember that tournament. I got third that year.
I feel like we probably should have had a bigger bag, but we had a 5.5. We had 1 over 4, and then we had a 2-pounder. I think we had like 11.5 pounds.
That was a tournament me and Kevin Willingham got third. Because I had it was before really any of us knew Nate. I had 6.56, which is like ridiculous to cash a check with now, especially in the solstice. Nate had 6.55, and I was like, all right, we got third.
So funny story about that one I won.
That was when that Frank face planted on the front deck, right?
Yeah. So I catch like a 4.5 pounder on chatterbait, and we get it in. We get it in the live well. We had a 2-pounder, 2.25, something like that in the live well. Frank throws a Senko out, and he hooks a fish, and like we can tell it's a big fish, right? And he goes where we were fishing. I was kind of nosed into a spot, and he goes to get up on the front deck to land it. So he got more room, and freaking face plants on the front of my boat.
Oh my god!
As he face plants, this fish jumps, and I just looked down and went, "Get the fuck up! It's a 6-pounder!" And it was like a 5 3/4. Like, get the fuck up! It's a 6-pounder.
Was he hurt or anything?
I didn't even check. He was not, but I didn't even check. I was like, get the fuck up, it's a 6
So
pounder.
when he went to go hit the step and his foot probably like slid off the step.
Yep.
And just,
It just face planted on my
oh
front
my
deck.
god, dude! I'm just glad his face didn't land on a fucking crankbait or something.
It's funny, like funny stories about face planting on the front deck. Me and Frank were. It always seems to happen when me and Frank were fishing together. We were fishing I think it was a Chester County. It was either Chester County or like a Bass Legends. It was out of the Northeast, and we're fishing up in the Northeast, and I hook a fish, and like I think it's a good one, and I'm in the back of the boat, and I had cast it up.
You weren't even throwing to anything. You just threw it in the corner.
I tried to hit the camera,
But there was no trash can
So-
over there.
So I cast
okay, I'll pick it up
I cast
later.
it up, and when I hooked this fish, there were 3 pilings next to the boat, and it ran around the front piling and came back. So I went to go to the front deck, and I slipped coming off, face planted on the front deck, broke my reel handle. I was fishing a spinning rod. I caught it on a drop shot. Broke my reel handle. I hand lined this fish in. It doesn't even help us. We get the fish in. You know what? I think it did. I think that was our 5th fish.
Paul's getting ready to curse up a storm.
We get it in, and I'm like not thinking about it. I'm like, damn, I thought that was a good one. So, and this is like there's like 10 minutes left in the tournament, and so we leave. We go up to another spot. Actually, that was our 4th fish because I caught the 5th fish with like 2 minutes to go. Catch the 5th fish. We go up to weigh in. We check in. I go to get off the boat. I'm like, damn, my foot hurts. I wake up the next morning.
Thanks, Bob.
My entire foot is purple. I fucking broke my foot.
Oh, no shit.
Broke my foot landing a bass. Yeah, like
Good God.
almost my entire foot was purple.
You'll have that on the big jobs.
It was funny. Me and Frank have had some. We've had some stupid shit. I was rooming with him one night. We were fishing ABA on the Potomac. So he was already at the hotel. He had already been down there for a day. And I was coming down after work. And like I throw all my shit in my boat. I get everything loaded in the truck, and I haul ass down there. And I'm 5 minutes from the hotel, and I'm like, "Hey Frank, I'm gonna be a little late." He's like, "Why? What's up?" Yeah, I left my graphs at home.
I left the most important piece of equipment I have on the boat at home, except for my fishing rods.
Yeah, I think I want to say like Candace had called me. I'm like I left them sitting in the living room because like I have a bag. It's a padded. It's actually for a studio mixer. It is with the bag. Yeah, it fits two. I can fit 3 fish finders in there, so like 2 and then like 1 in the middle. And like I left it in the living room or something, and like Candace had called me and be like, "Yeah, I think you left something here." I'm like, I'm 5 minutes from the hotel, 2 hours away, almost 2 hours away from home. Oh. I mean, I was all the way down past La Plata. Like I was down past La Plata when she called me and let me know.
I'd have been like, "Baby, how much do you love me?"
So I just popped a Yui and I just bawled home. I came, that spot on 95, like right before you go to turn on on 895, right before you get to
Jessup?
up past the tunnel coming our way. So when you come through the tunnel, you're coming toward us. Yeah. There's that spot that the cops always sit right before it merges back into 95.
Oh yeah.
You come down the hill and they're always sitting like right there in the middle. Yeah, there's a state trooper there running radar. I blew by him pulling my boat doing like 90 miles an hour. He never even flinched.
Good for him.
Mr. Paul turned on Motley Crue doing 90 down the highway. Nah, I'm not a big Motley Crue fan.
Have you seen the dirt? Have you seen the dirt?
Fan.
You've seen the dirt though, right?
I have not.
That's bro.
Have you seen the dirt?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm not a big Motley Crue fan. I don't hate him. But it's just not like my.
I'm not like Motley Crue. Oh my god! But like Motley Crue's pretty decent.
Like if I'm trying to get like,
if I'm trying
to get like psyched up, like I
want to be like Nikki Sixx.
I'm throwing on like BC Boys or something.
If I'm trying to get like tuned in, it's Tool.
Tool puts me to sleep.
I listen to
How
50
can
Cent.
you say that?
I love Tool. Tool's one of my favorite
But
bands.
like, how do they put you to sleep though? Like Tool makes me want to
It's too
like
melodic.
run through any like serious structure that's in front of me.
if
wall.
I want to feel like I'm gonna hit something, it's more like Bullet for My Valentine.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yep, that is definitely a punch a hole in the wall
Yeah.
type music.
If I want to get psyched up
personally,
for something like that.
Sometimes
Some
when I'm
Beastie
like-
Boys.
Sometimes
How do you
when
not
I
get psyched up for
hyped
Sabotage?
I'm more of a fight for the right to party type of person. Like if I'm trying to like get riled up, that's if I'm gonna pick Beastie Boys.
Oh, for
that's
me
the
it's
one.
Sabotage.
That's a good
All
song
the
too.
time, yeah.
It's a good song.
Kickstart My Heart.
Yeah, that's classic.
Obviously,
That's
that's
classic.
I'm
mean,
gonna
if we're going with
I'm gonna
smallmouth
buckle.
fishing,
I'm
then
gonna
it's
buckle
Biggie
what
Smalls.
both of you are talking about right now, though. And sometimes I like to listen to some gangster killer music.
Oh, all the time.
Biggie Smalls.
Like, no, I
Who
don't listen
shot
to
you?
Biggie
Oh,
Smalls.
hold on.
But dude, OG 50 Cent, like gang
I would-
banging 50 Cent,
I'm gonna say something.
110%. Like, listen to some of the OG 50 Cent, some of the OG Lil Wayne, some of that shit. Like,
So
hypes
in
me
my
up.
in my playlist, you'll scroll down here a little bit. Where's it at here? I
Wait
have
a
a
minute.
fishing
Why-
playlist. That is Jeezy, Meek Mill, Two
We own
Chainz,
it.
So while you guys
Right
read
out.
that,
Two
what's
There we
this?
go.
What's Miles
T.I.
talking about here? Miles
Well,
says
Hobson, DJ
there's a-
You
Khaled.
got some Hobson on there.
Yeah.
So Miles
Hobson.
says there's a Bass Nation tournament or open, and I don't know what tournament he's talking about out of Dundee and Flying Point. Is that the SQTs?
Boobies,
There is not a
boobies,
Bass Nation
boobies.
Open out of Dundee. There is a Bass Nation SQT out of Dundee.
And Flying
this
Point.
year. Not Flying Point, Dundee. Nothing
so-
that I know of out of Flying Point,
Bob
unless it's like a
Seger.
high school tournament.
Didn't he die?
Bob Seger.
That's Bob Saget.
Here I
No,
am
Bob Seger.
on the road again.
Well,
Bob
there we
Seger.
go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bob Seger. Bob Seger's good shit.
I don't know. Primus.
I like a lot of classic rock.
Dude, I started.
I know
getting
Tony
in-
likes a lot of
What about a
classic
little
rock.
country roads take me home?
I got
I
into.
know.
I got into
Doesn't
Primus
do anything
recently.
for Paul.
So like
I love
Tommy,
Primus.
Tommy the Cat. Oh, dude. Or My Name Is Mud. Like, just you want some like nasty bass line.
Les
like
Claypool
Pri-
is.
Oh my god.
Les Claypool is one of the top 5 bassists of all times.
Cannibal
So
Corpse.
did you, all right. You know he actually before Primus auditioned for Metallica,
I can believe that.
and you know what they said, bro? You're like too good. Like we're going to cramp your style. Like we're playing metal. You're playing like all kinds of shit. Like
That reminds
start your own band, please, because
I can't. Do you remember that commercial with the band auditions and like slash?
Yes.
Oh.
Slash,
They
like,
still
audition.
have some of those.
That commercial is hilarious.
It's
They're
like
like,
a progressive commercial
stop.
or some shit.
You're in.
dude, like okay, so here's like and again, like
He like hits one note. and,
Sister
like, stop
Christian.
it.
Wow, that's
Night
taking
Ranger.
it back.
Night Ranger.
You are not nearly old
so
enough to know
like
that song.
I'm not even like
I'm telling you, I was snowboarding with Little John 2 weeks ago before Christmas, and he had a speaker that was like attached to his boot when he was snowboarding, and he was in the chairlift above me, and I was like, I could hear this music, and it was bangers, like it was good music, and I
Like
was
old
like,
school
who
shit?
is? Yeah, I was like, who is playing this?
so like that's the thing.
Like I get
dude, it
off,
takes
go
me
down
back.
the ski lift, and like go pull up next to John, and like it gets louder, and I look down, I'm like, "Is that you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got a speaker on my show." I'm like, "Bro, you are way too young to understand that this is good music." Like,
Dude, like I play guitar, but I'm not that good. Like you've heard me play, I'm not.
You're
that
pretty
fucking
good. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
he obviously takes notes from his dad. Let's be
Oh yeah, it has to.
for sure.
So, but like, and I'm not throwing shade here. I promise. Slash, if it wasn't for the top hat and the sunglasses, would not be as famous.
I
So,
don't know.
he's
He's
a
got some
good guitar
He's
player.
got some pretty wild solos.
He's a good guitar player, but he's no
Like he's got
better.
2 of the top 10 solos of all. Like 2 of the top 10 voted 2 of the top 10
Sure,
solos of all.
voted absolutely. But when you talk about technical like ability, like dude, he's not even close. And I love Slash, and Guns N' Roses is obviously legendary. But like,
Well, he's not. So if you put in like the I was
Sammy
watching
Hagar, dude.
I was
Sammy
watching
Hagar, David Lee, or not David Lee Rose, Sammy,
Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen, yes, Eddie
So
Van
Eddie Van
Halen,
Halen's up there. So there's a list.
Buckethead, you know about him, right?
Yes.
Oh my god.
So there's
We're
a
talking about a master.
there's a and this blew my mind. just how many just phenomenal guitarists that you've never heard of.
Tom, what's his face?
Tommy Emmanuel.
Tom Morello.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
you used to
Rage.
play him in Guitar Hero. Remember?
Yeah, Tom. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Rage Against Me. Tom Morello is really good.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
But this top 10 list, like, and this is like a legit top 10 list. There's like 3 people you've ever heard on it.
And one of them is Jimmy Page.
One of them's Eddie Van Halen.
We got hey, what's up, Sean? Thanks for joining us, brother.
And like BB King.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
yeah.
don't think about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Sean,
he was
my
Sean's
man.
on here. He's what's up, bro?
BB King's one of the OGs, man.
Sean says I need to join a paper club this year. If
Reach out to Michael Duarte. I think he's in a paper club. I don't know of too many paper clubs, but I think Mike fishes. He's
what's
in a
a paper club?
So they don't fish any tournaments. They're just a club on paper. So they're just a club so that you can, because you have to be part of a club to fish like the SQTs.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
So the top 10
I
it was a
need to
pretty
join one of those too.
it was a pretty crazy list. Like people who you legitimately would think would be on there, like Eric Clapton, like are not on this list.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, is he on the list?
I can't remember if Stevie Ray
You
Vaughan
mean
was on there or not.
Stevie Ray?
That's criminal if he's not on the list.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's a phenomenal guitar player.
I mean, Hendrix, like...
I'm like Tom. You know who's a phenomenal guitar player, like top level guitar player that nobody would think of? Brad Paisley.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Brad Paisley is
I'm
very
sure there's
ridiculous.
a lot of country artists
Very
that are
good.
probably good at guitar.
I'll tell you who's...
There's not as many as you would think. Brad Paisley though is like he can
world class.
world class can literally play not just country, anything on a guitar.
There's a clip of him playing Hot for Sister or Hot for Teacher.
Did you ever see the clip with him, Tom Morello? It was him, Tom Morello, Slash, and another guy just like jamming one time. Dude, it's retarded.
Yeah,
It's
he
retarded.
is really, really, really good. My favorite. I mean, obviously you got guys like Hendrix and shit like that, but like no one's probably ever heard of him. I think the best technical guitarist that's still around today that plays is Buckethead.
Buckethead. Sean, Danny. I think Danny's in that same paper club too. Danny Rodriguez.
Yeah. But Buckethead's filthy, dude. Like, he's ridiculous.
Hey, Deborah, I just want to reach out to you.
18
and
in
say,
life. Wow.
I just want to reach out to you and say I'm sorry for the loss of your sister. Here recently.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear
Just,
that.
Prayers sent.
Saying prayers for you and for peace of mind and for your family.
Likewise.
Little John, 18 in life.
Mm-hmm.
Skid Row.
Oh, Skid Row. Yeah,
That's
a good
crazy.
one.
Oh man.
Steel Panther.
Steel Panther.
Dude, this little kid is hitting me with shit that I don't even know about right now.
Right? You don't know Skid Row?
I've heard of it.
You've definitely heard 18 in
life,
life
though.
Yeah.
No.
You've definitely heard the song. If
I've
you
probably
heard
heard
the
the light- I've
if you
probably
heard
heard
the
the
song,
song.
you would know.
If you haven't listened to G.G. Allen, I don't even want to talk
It's a
to you.
really that's like a really
No.
famous.
You know who I'm
80s song.
talking about.
No, we're not putting that on the show. Do not go look that up.
That's
What else?
it's extracurricular activity. Please go look that
Do
up.
not go look that up.
Speaking of random things, I added started following a Bella Danger on Instagram.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yo, Sean says Prince was good at guitar.
Prince is one of the best.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Did not know
So
that.
the cool thing about Prince, Prince could
John, you are literally the one that I didn't want to look that up.
John-
do not look that up.
do not look up a Bella
What the
Danger.
fuck are you doing?
G.G. Allen, not what he said.
You're gonna hurt this kid.
G.G. Allen with an I.
You're gonna hurt this child.
It's
So-
open source internet. I can't help
So
it.
Prince was actually
Don't do it on your family computer. That's all I can tell
a
you.
proficient, like high level instrument player of 13 different instruments.
You know who's an exceptional damn good damn musician, and most people I know Rob knows him. Hank Williams the third. No,
Hank Williams III.
Yes,
I don't know
very
if you-
good.
Trent Reznor.
Yes.
One day we're gonna have you come on the podcast to start, and I'm just gonna get you to freaking rock one of your songs out on the guitar, and then we're gonna start talking.
Maybe.
Trent
That's what John said. John, what? Oh God, yeah.
Oh God, what is this?
You did this on your
So-
free will. It was not my
Dude,
fault.
I did not tell you about this. Tony told you about this. Okay.
This is what I listen to when I lift weights. Is
So-
G.G. Allen.
Trent Reznor. Most people don't know 9 Inch Nails is not a band.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor plays every instrument.
Okay, wait a minute.
He records every
Wait, are you
instrument.
serious?
What about Creed?
They suck.
But why though, dude? They have so many bangers.
Not really.
Yes, they do.
Dude, it's copy paste music.
Okay, you're
It
not
sounds
wrong.
like it sounds like everything else that came out.
You're not wrong.
That
But
time period.
the pinnacle.
With arms wide open. Yeah.
Okay, so like, but
Really?
let's go. Here, tell me I'm wrong here. The absolute crescendo of what it meant to be an American was Creed playing the Thanksgiving halftime show at the Dallas Cowboys game.
No, it wasn't at all.
It absolutely.
I'd have to YouTube it.
We used to be a free country.
Yeah, we did used to be a free country.
I feel
in 1992.
I feel like the pinnacle of like American was definitely Toby Keith.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
you know what? He's got a point.
We'll put a boot in your
Hank
ass.
Williams
The
Jr.
American
Wait a
Ride.
second. Hank Williams Jr. Monday Night Football. That was the pinnacle of what it meant to be an American. Dude,
I mean,
Hank. So the Monday Night
hold on.
Football
I will
was
say-
based
Did
on
they
a
not
Hank
just-
Williams
No,
Jr.
no.
Not just have
song.
Dolly Parton at one of the shows though.
I will say
Yeah,
I feel like the pinnacle.
Dolly Parton.
dude, she's made out of Legos at this point.
Yeah.
I think the-
so. What if her legs were about to break on stage?
If we're
She
talking-
was still there.
Miles is
If we're
telling me
talking
to check my
if we're
phone.
talking about like the pinnacle of football music, it was definitely the Who at the Super Bowl.
You know what? After the Who
yeah.
invaded my privacy and downloaded one of their albums,
That was
onto my-
U2.
Oh, yep, you're right. It was you. Fuck you.
I
U2.
still hate them for that.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, I still hate them for that. I refuse to listen to U2, even though they have some good songs from the 80s. Refuse to listen to U2
Dude,
because they
South-
force me to
Invaded my
download.
privacy.
The
They
South
force
Park
me to download their
episode,
album.
the South Park episode with Bono being the world's biggest piece
Yes,
of shit.
that
That was
is hilarious.
legendary.
The
That was
best.
the funniest South Park episode ever.
Sean, I'm not a huge Metallica fan.
I'm not a big Metallica fan either. Honestly.
I like Metallica, but I like their off the wall songs. Like, talk to me about Metallica when you talk about Whiplash and like Phantom King or something, whatever the hell
The
it's called.
only Metallica song that I really listen to is Whiskey in the
Fuel.
Jar. Whiskey in the Jar is that's my go-to Metallica song.
I don't even know if I've heard that one. It feel like everybody's like, "Oh, Enter Sandman." Like, this song sucks.
What was the one they did on Stranger Things? The guy did the
I'm not familiar with the show.
yeah. That one was good. Yeah, there's so much good music. Like I feel like with the, like you're a little younger than me, but like I was a teenager in the 90s, and like I feel like I caught like the perfect time for
Oh
music.
yeah.
Because like I had, like I grew up listening, to my dad's music. 'Cause,
You still grew up listening
like-
to the 70s and
like
80s.
the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Eagles was still one of my favorite bands.
Dude, Hotel California, I think, is one of the most viewed or downloaded songs like in the world to this day. Or no, it's the number one selling album from the Eagles to this day.
I've drank I've drank a little too much tonight. So my wedding theme was an Eagle.
You had 3 piss waters.
I know, right? This is the only time I drink.
I've never ever seen you go past 2.
I usually don't.
Well, it's a special night.
I
So-
killed my Stone Cold Steve Austin American lagers.
I did not think you were going past 2 tonight either.
Yeah, me either, but whatever.
You already
It's
know
bad
I was.
that I have to-
You guys already know I was killing a 6 to a 10 tonight.
My brain's not working right now.
I'm not gonna lie. I
Sir,
thought it
sir.
none of our brains were working when David came on the
Hold on, wait a minute.
podcast. As we
Hold on, wait a minute.
Dude,
Hold on,
as
wait a
soon
minute.
as he got on, we were all just like,
Sir, you were going more than 6 miles an hour in the no wake zone in Joppatown. Well, yes, Mr. DNR officer, but Freebird was playing, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, that's legendary. It actually makes sense.
That's what I would say. Like,
No, that's
Freebird
not
was
the
playing,
song.
sir. So, like,
What? Dude, did I mute this fucking mic again?
dude, we could make a video
I'm
running
terrible
through
right
that
now.
shit with like the
Can't do
shake and bake
anything.
themes or the shake and bake sound effect from Talladega Nights.
Shake and
So,
bake.
"Love Will Keep Us Alive" by the Eagles.
Oh, that's a good.
That
one.
was
Ooh, yeah.
that was my wedding song.
Nice. It's a good one.
Fair.
That was our first dance. Was Love Will Keep Us Alive. So like that's what I grew up with. So when you stepped out, Tony, I was talking about the like, you know, I'm a little older than you guys. Like I feel like I grew up in like the golden age of music because I had like that 70s and 80s that was still a thing.
Yeah.
And then I hit like that alternative
Yeah.
thing, and then it just like
When
into like
it- that, like,
2005
peak in
it went-
the 90s
and then like
was all-
2005
You
it
had
went
like
all with the shit.
prime, like
yeah.
You had prime like Offspring and all that.
Oh,
shit.
Offspring, you know, Offspring, Rage,
Offspring.
you know, the grunt that whole grunge, genre that came through with Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, you know, like prime Chris Cornell, but still had like those guys from the 80s,
Stone
like
Temple Pilots.
like Stone Temple Pilots, yeah. So, but we still had
Was it Pearl Jam?
Yeah, it was one of the big ones, dude.
for sure.
They were
Eddie
huge.
Vedder.
They were huge.
You can't understand anything he says.
No. That's the difference between Pearl Jam and Creed. You can understand Creed, but you can't
I
understand
wasn't
Pearl
that
Jam.
into it, to be honest with you.
I was more into like Soundgarden.
Yeah.
I love Chris Cornell. Anything Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell probably had one of the. But even like some
Foo
of the
Fighters. That was
But
another
even some
one.
of like the pop stuff.
Foos.
Yeah.
Foo
Even
Fighters
some of the
was
pop
phenomenal.
stuff in the 90s, like just there were certain
Linkin
people
Park.
outside of like that rock genre that had just like Natalie Merchant has like one of the best singing voices ever. Well, and it's just like random pop music. Natalie Merchant.
With who?
She had a big solo career or a decent solo career, but 10,000 Maniacs was where she started.
I've heard of that. Who's the girl?
Cranberries.
Was it? Is it Evanescence?
That's my second favorite band of all time.
Is it Evanescence?
Evanescence, yeah. Amy Lee has an amazing voice.
They're phenomenal.
Sean, I love Marilyn Manson. That's my guilty That's like my guilty pleasure. Because
Really?
because he's
Really?
he's a giant douche.
Oh yeah.
I like.
That's
Ted
like
Nugent.
that's like Gigi
Does
Allen
he
for
make
me.
good? To me, when I look at that guy, like he makes music.
Ted
that
Nugent.
He, like,
Oh
kills
hell
me.
yeah! Now we're talking.
Good Lord, thank God.
What were you saying about Marilyn Manson?
Vote for Ted Nugent for president.
I'm voting for him. Just saying.
What were you saying about Marilyn Manson?
He looks like
He
the
was
type
on
of
Jerry
musician that
Springer
would make
once,
music
right?
that you choke yourself to death to. Like
Some of his shit hits so hard though. Like some
I've
of that,
never listened
some
to
of that,
him, so
like
I-
some of that
I've
mid
never put
'90s
the-
stuff hits so.
dude,
hard.
he's just such a freak.
Oh yeah, for
Wasn't he
sure.
on? Was it Jerry Springer or like Maury Povich or some shit that he was on? He was on like one of those.
I'm sure
reality
he's on
shows.
something.
It was
He's
like
probably-
Steve Wilkos or something. I don't know.
He's probably supposed to be in jail.
Is the rumor true
What?
about the
That he had two
ribs?
ribs removed? I don't know.
Does
Why did he
anybody
have the
know?
ribs removed?
You know why he had the
I
ribs
know.
removed.
I know.
Does
why he had the
anybody
ribs
know?
removed.
We have minors listening. We can't talk about that.
Dude, I don't know, man. Like, yeah,
Sean, wait, Sean, the Cranberries were the shit. Cranberries are my second favorite band of all time.
what happened to the lead singer?
Yo, Dan,
Something-
I
something
can get down
happened.
with some Jelly
Like,
Roll, dude.
I know she died, but I don't know what the situation was. Like overdose.
Alcohol
or-
abuse.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, she died in a bathtub.
I didn't realize that one of their most famous songs, "Zombie," was about like the struggle of like the Irish versus the.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was like super. Like, it's a heavy
Yeah.
song.
They have so many good songs.
And what's
I
it?
love the
Dreams
Cranberries.
is another really good one from them.
Dreams, Linger,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ode to My Family. That's one of my favorite songs by them. This will throw my favorite. So I said they're my second favorite band of all time. My favorite band of all time is Third Eye Blind.
Yeah. They're.
Okay, yeah.
Wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
I've seen Third Eye Blind.
Hi, we're back.
I've seen
Intro's 2 hours late. Sorry.
I've seen Third Eye Blind more times than I can count. If you dig through my Facebook enough, you'll find a picture of me with Steven Jenkins
Oh, nice.
in Seattle when he told me I went to Seattle because I have friends out there, and I was drunk after a show one time, and I was like, dude, I came all the way to Seattle to see you. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Maryland. He's like, why the fuck didn't you see us when we were in Baltimore? Which I have many times, but I love Bush. Bush is probably, they're in my top 5. I saw Bush recently, actually, 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. They played in
Dire
Baltimore.
Straits.
With Chevelle, who, if you have not seen Chevelle in concert, They are one of the best live shows ever.
You
Really?
guys forget that I worked in the concert business for years, man.
I remember.
I actually-
that was just last year you got out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually didn't know that.
Oh, dude, for
We never
years,
talked about that.
years. So I did. I worked with the local stagecraft union for 5-6 years.
Oh, no shit.
We would do shows at the arena, Merriweather, the Hippodrome, the Lyric. I mean,
Didn't you like
Pier
bounce
6.
for some of that shit too?
I never bounced. That was before I started lifting, so I wasn't,
John, I like Dire Straits.
able to bounce at the time. But Philip Phillips,
Well, Don't
dude.
Fear the Reaper.
Oh yeah, used to dude. I would I remember playing guitar backstage with Philip Phillips. No clue who the
Sultans
guy.
of Swing.
No clue who he was at the time, and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool.
I'm
And then
sorry.
he was the
Don't
headliner.
Fear the Reaper is Blue
Like,
Oyster Cult. I'm sorry.
And then we did so many fucking shows. I can't even think about it. Brian Adams, the Canadian guy.
I love Brian Adams.
We
I've
did
always
that.
loved
We
Bryan
did. I did Jason Aldean like 3 or 4 times. I
Play
did
with
Neil,
Jason Aldean.
Neil Diamond, dude, like 5
I
times.
didn't play. He just
I
worked
did-
the show.
Well, so it was.
Maybe he got to play.
He could
Well,
have.
I got
Did
to play
you
with.
meet
I got
Jason
to play with a
Aldean?
couple. I got to play with Philip Phillips. I got to play with a couple of Jason Aldean's band members. I got to his I guess guitar manager, whatever the hell the name is, used to be the band manager for Hank 3. So I met Hank 3 because he was actually at the show to support his cool as
that's
fuck
wild.
guy.
Hell
Cool as
yeah.
shit,
That's
dude.
pretty
Right?
Fuck yeah.
So that was awesome. But a lot of these, they're just normal people, dude,
Oh, yeah.
and they just not the stereotype, but they're musicians and they're quirky. They have their quirks. It is what it is. Like Cage the Elephant. One of my
I love Cage the Elephant.
Cage the Elephant is great.
They're
one of
fucking
my
Dude, those guys are probably wild.
dude. Oh my god. One of my a lot of the shows I would do lighting, I would do audio, or I would do stagecraft or whatever. Every now and then you get an obscure assignment. So one of the obscure assignments I got was for Cage the Elephant, and they told me this your job is to stand in this room where the band hangs out and do whatever they tell you. And I was like, I'm not doing drugs, but yes.
Anything else?
Yeah, that's it. Right, because I was
Butt sex is on the table.
maybe not that, but within reason, of course. So yeah. So the lead singer, I don't know his name. I never heard it. I didn't really give a shit about half the. Once you've been to 300.
Dude, if I
concerts,
hear that from Cage the Elephant, I'm like, no.
What'd they say? Oh,
dude,
sorry.
once you've been to 300 concerts backstage, it loses the edge for you.
Would they ask?
So they weren't it was hey, do you mind getting me a beer or whatever, and that was fine, no problem. Or can you bring me this case? My guitar's in here. A lot of shit like that. So the lead singer.
Can you bring me this mirror
So
with this white substance?
I
on it?
swear to you, dude, I don't care about art. I think it's stupid. The lead singer of Cage the Elephant, I'll never forget this as long as I live. This dude painted. I don't even know what it was, but I can't remember the front of it. Okay, keep that in mind. He painted this thing, and he was showing it to me, and he was explaining it, and I was just completely blindsided because it had the front of it was damn good, right? And I don't care about art unless it's music. Let's be honest, because I'm artistically challenged. I can't color in the lines. So he showed me this. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then he flipped it around, and it was like a demonic emu version of the Mona Lisa that he painted by bleeding the paint through the paper. Right? He didn't turn it around and actually stroke the brush. He was painting something and then decided, okay.
He painted on one side to get a
And
picture
bled
on the
through.
other
and
side.
Yeah.
let it through. And it was demonic Mona Lisa.
That's freaking amazing.
Dude, it was cool as shit. And I was like, bro, this is fucking awesome. You need to sell this. And he's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, stop it. You don't know who I am and you don't care. Sell this. Take pictures of it and sell it. This is awesome. And of course, I'm not gonna assume that the man was abusing substances.
I don't like a lot of. So KGLs, I don't consider them newer
Yes.
music.
Have you seen their
I
music
love
videos?
KGLs. As far as newer music goes, though, what do you feel about the Struts?
I did a
Ooh,
show
they're
for
not
them,
bad.
dude. I did a show for them,
Okay.
and I don't remember because Christ, where were they?
I feel
they
like-
were either at Pier 6
I
or
feel like
at
they drink
Merriweather.
a lot.
What about Greta Van Fleet?
Very good.
Okay, very stand-up guys. They're actually really cool dudes, but they're
Weird.
yes.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
I was doing a show for them at Merriweather, and we ended up we were all breaking for lunch, and it's cool. A lot of bands are just really normal guys. Some are not. Some are absolute douchebags.
Rooster.
But that's Alice in Chains.
Yes, it is.
But Greta Van Fleet came and they were eating lunch with us, and they just happened to sit at my table. So we're just sitting there shooting the shit. And I don't tell people that I play music because dude, that's their fucking job.
Right.
That's like me going up to a bunch of Bassmaster Classic, go, huh, yeah, you think you know about crankbaits, David Fritts? I throw crankbait. Like, you just don't do it. So, all this, that, and the other. And they were normal guys. They were like, oh, it's one thing led to another, and now we're playing music for a living.
Personally, I think a lot of celebrities and/or musicians of a higher stature enjoy being talked to like a civilian more than a celebrity.
I'm not gonna say which specific bands, but a lot of bands are just not that good live.
So I mean that goes
Really
with any
not.
that goes with a lot of like your normal celebrities.
Yeah.
Whatever field they're in, like whether it be music, bass fishing.
Yeah.
Like these guys that we look up to. In bass fishing, most of them are just normal guys. You go to
Dude, I bet you we could have talked to Dave about pickup trucks for an hour. I bet.
You go to Susquehanna, go to Susquehanna Fishing Tackle next weekend for Bass Fest. Talk to some of the guys that are going to be there. They're normal people.
Yeah.
Like they're
everybody's
super,
a normal
super
person
cool.
until they get up on stage. In reality,
right, just because you see them on TV, it doesn't that TV makes them larger to life to a lot of people. But Ish Monroe, one of the funniest damn people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's hilarious. So funny.
Yeah, that sounds. I would love to, dude. I like that man. Is like
I
aspire to be with a frog.
I met him at Bass Fest one year. He's so funny.
Yeah, that's why I aspire to be.
So
with
speaking
a frog,
of Ish, he just had an article on Bassmaster. Tony? You may have seen Did you see the Jacob Fouts video where he was talking about?
Hey, Larry, thanks for joining us.
I think we talked about it on the show. Like he came out and talked about like, hey, I've been an Elite Series angler for 2 years, and like, I've literally been paid $7,000 from sponsors. Like, just because you get on the Elite Series, he's like, I had this misconception of this industry where, okay, I've always been told you just got to fish, you just got to fish, you just got to fish. And now I've made it here in 2 years, I've made $7,000. And so kind of in line with that, Ish put an article on, he wrote an article or an article was written. It's on Bassmaster.com right now. And it's literally titled, "The Industry Doesn't Owe You Anything." Mm-hmm. And he talks about, what you need to do to be a professional. Ish Monroe is one of the hardest working people in bass fishing. He is constantly selling.
I love that point of view.
He's constantly selling, product for Daiwa. He's literally going to boat dealerships and selling Ranger boats.
Yeah.
Like as a salesperson. Doesn't get paid for it from like the dealership, but he's going there and selling Ranger boats because that's
what it takes.
That's his job. What you do.
Look at the soundboard. Soundboard looks awesome.
Chad's
Speaking
over here
of
just
which,
randomly clicking
goddamn,
on
dude,
stuff.
it's 10:45.
I
Holy
feel
shit.
like, we're getting pretty late here, but I definitely feel like one of these days we need to do a view and show our guests what we're actually looking at and how we do what we do, just for the interest of it. I feel like, this is not easy. This is complicated. We've been doing this for 2 years now, and we still have problems just about every time we do this.
Pretty much.
Sean said he, when the Elites were on the Potomac, he camped next to Carl Joachimson, Jeff Crete, and some other people. Carl Joachimson, someone I would love to meet because he just seems like the most genuine dude. Like, and his story is just incredible.
Aaron Martin's.
Yeah. Aaron Martin's is... Yeah.
No one else.
Aaron was one of a kind.
Like no one else.
Aaron was one of a kind, man.
Super, super nice guy. But Carl's story is just incredible from where he came from.
Yeah. Well, we do actually.
Damn it, Murphy. He's right.
Mr. Bob throwing you under the bus.
We do actually. We got to let Tony go. He does have some shit he's got to get going on in the morning. It's a very important day for him. We're getting late.
It is.
So we're going to call the show. Really enjoyed this show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Mr. David Fritts, great conversation from crankbaits to accomplishments to Bassmaster Classic, FLW, and everything in between. Finished it off with talking about some sweet music.
Yeah.
And that's something I love about this show. We talk. I mean, we cover our bass fishing stuff, and then we talk about what we like to talk about. And
you gotta have some good tunes when you're out on the water sometimes. Them slow
absolutely.
days, it really helps them slow days go by.
Yep, it helps them slow days go by. We appreciate you guys for joining in. Thank you guys very much. We will see you guys next week for another episode of Shenanigans. Peace.
Shenanigans.